Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This will be Out of Darkness. This is going to be the first part of a three-part series. I want you guys to get some pens and paper if you need be. Relax and let's do this because it is something I really find near and dear to my heart. There's a lot of information on here that you can get. I don't know why this is not going over, but we're going to figure that one out. Let's see. Here we go. And then we have here. See, I don't want to do it like this, but it is doing it. So there we go. So I always say mental slavery is the worst form of slavery. It gives you the illusion of freedom, makes you trust, love, and defend your oppressor while making an enemy of those who are trying to free you or open your eyes. I think we're going through that a little bit today. We can all relate to that. So let's open our minds up and be ready to receive what we're going to get out of the darkness so we can come into the light. And I always say this, the new black code: be black, buy black, think black, and everything else will take care of itself. Marcus Garvey, intelligence rules the world, ignorance carries the burden. We all need to practice group economics. If you can today, go out and buy something from a black-owned business, a black person. Just make sure we can circulate our dollars and keep it within our community. When brothers receive the call to consciousness, they gather around to organize, and we are definitely organizing. We have a group called Men Who Surge. If you guys have any men that want to get involved, you can let me know. And on Wednesday evenings, we have a call at 5:30 Pacific time, 7:30 Central, and 8:30 Eastern. If you want some men so we can get together and show that black pride right here with all our brothers here, so we can organize and get our consciousness awareness around, so we can elevate our community. If we as a people realize the greatness from which we came, we would be less likely to disrespect ourselves. I mean, our kings and queens, we have to learn how to cooperate, collaborate, not compete with one another, but be in cooperation and love one another. So that's another thing that we do. We have to have loyalty to one another first, then we can go spread out the love to everyone else. But we have to bring up our people like we've been in the past. Mansa Musa, Queen Nzinga, we ran empires, and we can do it again. The job of conscious people is to make the unconscious conscious. And that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to get us being the conscious people. We have to get the unconscious to become conscious, like Kwame Ture said. So we can go ahead and do this together. And of course, you know, we all have our crown today. It's Father's Day, so we have our crowns today. We're happy. My blood, my people, my land. The blood we said, my people are black, and our land is what we're going to accumulate, and we're going to build our own nation together. And this is what I love here. It says, our family buys black, does yours? You need to really think about that, because we do need to participate in buying black for our families, even our children. I have children going out to reminding their parents. And if we all just do a little bit, if you get $20, go out and grab a group of people and spend your money in a black-owned business if you can, or online. Just go ahead and participate, and at least it's something. We have to do this more consistent and persistently so we can become the nation and the powerful people that we know we are. We are already powerful, but together, collectively, as I always say, you, me, and we can change and transform the world. And as a black CEO, let me tell you, I am unapologetic about the unique distinction that I represent in the marketplace. So if you expected me to apologize for what I say, I do not, because unless I'm not really wrong. I'm just telling you the truth. And if people don't like the truth, I always say the truth will set you free, but it also hurts. The truth hurts, but it will set you free. So I should not be unapologetic about something that I'm giving to you knowledge-wise, or anyone else. And if it's standing up for my blackness, I am not sorry about that, because I think that we are doing the right thing. It's not think, I know that we're doing the right thing. And if I am out of line, you know, I do take constructive criticism. I always have an open mind, but more than likely, I'm doing the right thing. It's like Coach, I said before, if it ain't right, don't do it. If it ain't true, don't say it. So that's what I'm doing here. And this is what we need to do, bring up our youth, have them sticking together. Black power, black pride, Black Lives Matter. We all need to stick together and unite so we can lead the world and make it a better place, because the other people that are leading the world right now, as we see how it's going, how it's been going, we have to change that. I always say, when you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change. And that's what we need to do here. And of course, I love black people. I also say you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So let's go ahead and do this. Happy Father's Day. Black Fathers Matter, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So thank you guys very much. I want to say happy Father's Day for you. I really appreciate you guys coming on and joining us here. And we're going to get this party started, and we're going to get it started right. So let me go ahead and put this up here. See if it comes up. You know, sometimes it be tripping on me. So we got to wait for it to do its thing. Here we go. All righty.
As we begin to look at who we are as a people, and as we look at the contributions of African people to the world, Professor John Henrik Clarke often told us that the missing pages of world history is African history. And once you understand the role that Africa has played in the shaping of our intellectual world, in terms of the things that we have achieved as a people, you will begin to understand why there is a war on history. And when you're dealing with a war on history, you're doing more than that. What you have to do is understand and look at the work of Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, the brilliant Senegalese scholar who wrote a book, The African Origins, Myth or Reality, Civilization or Barbarism, the Cultural Unity of Black Africa. And as he developed his understanding, he said that for a people to oppress another people, this has nothing to do with African culture or European culture. This is people to people. If you want to oppress a people, there are three things that you take from them. You take their history, you take their language, and you take their psychological factor. Their psychological factor are what we call VIPs. Dr. Leonard Jeffries calls them the values, the interests, and the principles of a people. Take those from them. Take their history, take their language, take their values, interests, and principles, and then superimpose your history, your language, your values, interests, and principles on them. And no matter what conclusion they come to in the challenge they face, they will always act in the interest of the oppressor that took their history, language, and their values, interests, and principles. So when we wonder why the choices we make never serve our best interests, you got to change the paradigm. You have to study your history. You have to study your language, your values, interests, and principles.
Without question, is a war on Black history. But I believe that war on Black history is a symptom of a much larger war. And that is a war against the opportunity for African people to resurrect themselves. Knowledge itself is not the goal. Knowledge itself is the means. The goal is to become an independent, self-sufficient people.
The war is against African people. And so the attack on African history is a part of the larger attack on African people. And it's about rulership of the world. It's about rulership of the planet. It's about access to the raw material and the resources in the continent of Africa. and in the parts of the world where African people live in Central, South America, and the Pacific Islands.
History is exactly what the word implies, his story. There are many stories out here. And if a person is going to be truly knowledgeable, it's advantageous for them to know as many different versions of the same stories out here so that they then, through the process of deductive reasoning, can begin to compare the stories, analyze consistencies in those stories, begin to see the flaws in certain stories, so they then can discern the truth from a lie.
Most of the textbooks that are used in classrooms around the country are written by people who don't look like us. So we cannot expect for our former enslavers to give us the knowledge that's going to help us to get to the point where we can be successful. Because at the end of the day, that means more competition. And so oftentimes our history begins with slavery is because that is a portion of Black history or African history that's most popular, and most individuals are not familiar with history before that. So if you don't know about what happened before slavery, then it's almost impossible to produce materials or conduct lesson plans that educate our youth about that information.
Black history has been repressed in this country. That's why Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1926 established Negro History Week in order to teach information that was not being taught in this country. That's why Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1933 wrote The Miseducation of the Negro, in which he showed that there was an intentional effort on the part of this government to miseducate people of African ancestry so that we would never know who we were. And as a consequence of being miseducated, we would never be able to access the power that lies in the truth of knowing who you are.
If African history are represented in a book of 1,000 pages, slavery would begin on 999. It's only just a small percentage of the entirety of what our ancestors have contributed to world history.
You have Black people who, again, are trying to distance themselves from anything that has to do with Africa because, again, they've bought into this whole notion that somehow, they're not worthy, the culture's not worthy. But it is not understanding your history that leads to the trauma that we see that's happening, which results in, I just need to escape from this. Because you're afraid of what you don't understand. But you see, when you understand it, you can navigate.
Europeans have discovered other people, conquered other people, enslaved other people, and then rewritten their history so that they could control them from the inside out.
Once slavery was over, Europeans decided to then go to the continent, divide up the continent, and various European groups would have control over different areas. So it's really understanding the wealth of resources and knowledge and other things that come out of Africa and they with that wealth. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it boiled down to money and power.
And so this war is being waged by 1/9 of the world population, who we call Europeans. And in order for them to rule the world and be able to steal the resources of the world to use for their development, they must keep the African population off balance, out of sync. And the best way to do this is to deny access to intergenerational transmission of wisdom from the African ancestors, which we call history. And if somebody keeps that information away from you, how can you then plan your next step when you don't know what your last step was? History tells you what your last step was, and it gives you the tools to plan your next step.
And so the war on African history is a war against the African psyche to keep you from recognizing your true potential, because they know what your true potential is. And so it's a strategy to keep you from knowing who you actually are, so you never manifest the greatness and the divinity within. And so white folk have always been very, very keenly aware of the intellectual genius of Black folk. Although there's stereotypes that would suggest the only types of intelligence we have is athletic, artistic, and cultural. That's only because those are the only avenues that are open to African Americans. And so it's important to recognize that that war against African history is a war against African people, recognizing what their true potential is in this world.
History is especially important in race matters. And throughout the history, most of the documents were written by whites. especially during the years of slavery. And then after slavery, rhetorical writings or daily newspaper or journals were written by whites. Black writers didn't penetrate the mass media for written literature until about the late 30s and 1940s, before black could have any access to get books out, publish books. And so whatever shaped the attitudes and the culture from a racial standpoint was shaped by whites. And they shape everything to their advantage. So consequently, in any of their writings and in their history reportings, they're going to report to the advantage of white folk to maintain those privileges at all costs.
When artists sample music, they sample from the best. And so we can almost look at some of the things that have been designed that reflect Egyptian architecture. That's architectural sampling. So you always take from the best of the best, and that's definitely what Europeans did. And so they had to study us. In order to get this information, they had to study our history and information. And I think it's important to understand that when you acknowledge where you came from or where it came from, it just opens up so many doors of things that they're going to have to take responsibility for.
I think the attack on ethnic studies broadly, not just AFAM, but also Barasa studies in Tucson and other forms of ethnic studies, really comes from an impulse that white folks, in an era of shrinking whiteness, right, in an era where the numbers are starting to turn, making the United States more black and brown, that there's a dissent that a lot of white folks have. And I'm not sure it's always conscious, like it could be subconscious, but the effect is the same either way. It's this sense that they're losing control of their culture and their narrative, right? So there's this one hand that, white folks are saying we want to seal the borders off and we want to control the growth of populations of color. But if we can't do that, if we can't control who's here, we can at least control the story that we tell, right? And the story that we tell about our country is one that doesn't have a place for Afro-American studies or for Barasa studies or Asian American studies, any kind of black studies or diaspora studies at all for black folks. It's just not part of that narrative. So if white folks want to try to maintain control of their dominance in the culture, the best way to do that is to control the storytelling, right? There's that old saying that that poets and storytellers would have more power, right, than bankers in some cases, because if you can control the story that the country tells about itself, you influence the policies, you influence the laws. And so I think that's what that's about. It's saying, how dare you try to correct our version?
Jerry, how do you personally feel about having Negro classmates?
Well, I didn't ask for integration, and I wasn't enthusiastic about getting it. But the Supreme Court said that our high school should be integrated, and so I thought that I should do all I could to bring this court order about peacefully. I think our football coach put it very well. He said, all through your life, you're going to come up against things that you don't like. But he says you're going to have to accept them anyway and just make the best out of them that you can.
One of the most important documents that tells the story of the coming into being of the cosmos within our universe comes to us through the Shabaka stone. Shabaka was a Neset Biti, or a pharaoh of the 25th dynasty. When they came to an area that we today call Memphis, they came upon a document, and it has come down to us as the Memphite theology. Shabaka records on the Shabaka tablet itself that it was worm-eaten, but it was the work of the ancestors. And because it was the work of the ancestors, and because it was scientifically sound, Shabaka ordered his scientists and all of the peoples of note to rewrite this document for all time and space. A people who wish to come into their understanding of who they are will write a creation story. And the whole story tells the cosmic beginnings and how all came into being. The story of the original Trinity, the Nun, Ptah, and Atum. One entity that came in three parts. The Nun, which was the water or matter of the universe. The Ptah, which was the energy or the conversion of energy that brought things into being. And the Atum that called all things into being. They talked about the Nun being matter, the Nunet being space, the Ha being infinity, and the Hahet is finity. The Kak is the darkness, Kaket is the light. The Amen is the hidden, and the Amenet is the revealed. Everything that is written, carved on the Shabaka stone is what we teach in our science classes today. When you look at Dr. Sagan's, what he calls the cosmic calendar, broken up into 12 months, every month represents 1 billion years. In the early months come the superclusters. As we go through the months, superclusters give birth to clusters. As you go on, clusters give birth to galaxies, galaxies give birth to stars. Somewhere in this mix, our star was born, the star that we live by. And on September 15th of that cosmic year, 8.5 billion years after the so-called Big Bang, or the coming into being of the universe according to the Shabaka stone, our Earth is born. It is not going to be until December 30th that the human family is going to emerge out of the darkness. So you can see, as African people, we have to start in the cosmic reality. And from this cosmic reality, Homo sapiens sapien is going to develop a way of thinking. They are going to develop a way of providing for themselves. They are going to create technology, all the math, all the science, all the languages at the end of that cosmic year. And it is they, at this time, will begin and create what we call the Nile Valley civilization.
To Egypt we owe the dawn of conscience and the earliest visions of character as a social form, great religions of the Western world, and also the beginnings of science, astronomy and medicine, art and architecture, literature and music.
Professor Lynn Jeffries always said that whoever controls Kemet, the history of Kemet stands at the head of the human family. It's in Egypt where we can find the greatest evidence of culture, civilization, architecture, science, literature, philosophy, and religion. So if that was the exclusive purview of Black people in Africa, thousands of years before civilization existed anywhere else, it flies in the face of the contemporary misinterpretations of African people, who they were and what they did. So in that context, in order for people who now control the world to maintain control of the world, they have to suppress other interpretations of world history.
Well, Nile Valley is so important because it's from that area we find the oldest documented civilization in the world. From the Nile Valley, we know that the people of ancient Canaan were African, had dark skin, and we do know that from the Nile Valley, our ancestors created the first alphabet called Meta-Neter, which the Greeks renamed hieroglyphics. We also know that our ancestors created the first paper, which was made from the papyrus plant, the first clock, which was a water clock. The Greek name for that is Kalapsudra. But a lot of the things that have laid the foundation for us today that have allowed us to be able to write down our history and to be able to pass that on, we've only been able to do that with many of the inventions that our ancestors created.
When you're dealing with engineering or technology, when you talk about writing and reading, when you're talking about refinement of speech, when you talk about grammar or the dialectic, or if you're talking about concepts of astronomy or music.
The people from the Nile Valley were the very first people to develop the concept of time. Time is a concept that sprang from the minds of African people. They were the first people to survive the age of 24 hours. They were the first people to develop the calendar, 365 recorded days. They were the first people to build with stone. They were the first people to develop systems of education. The first universities. First, they invented writing. They invented paper. They developed libraries. They were the first physicians, the first psychologists, the first dentists, the first brain surgeons. They were the first governors, the first rulers, the first men and women to orient structures to celestial bodies in order to harness the spiritual energy that's generated within a structure that is properly aligned to celestial states. So in other words, they were human beings who could manifest the power of God on earth.
I think the most important contribution that was made was the creation of a system that transfers and transmits information from one generation to the next one. And when the Perank, P-E-R-A-N-K-H, which is the Temple of Life, was created in Kemet, it allowed the transference of information to come down from one generation to another, which would include the study of the heavens. It would include the study of nature around It would include understanding geology, understanding geography, and everything that every generation learned, they would hand it down to the next generation in order to improve the conditions of the human family.
I was talking to different teachers who wasn't at school, and after the students had done the work that was provided for them, we ended up having a conversation about Africa, African history and culture. And I shared with one of the students that African people were the first humans on earth. We created writing, we created science, we created alphabet, paper, things like that. And the student just started dancing in his seat and got so excited.
The Grand Gallery of Khufu's pyramid in Giza literally is on the 30th parallel north, 30th parallel east. In the ancient world, that pyramid was the center of the earth. So if you can imagine Khufu's pyramid being in the center of the earth, along with every one of the pyramids, Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaure, every one of their entrances to the temple was on the north side of the temple, and every one of them pointed to the North Star.
What I like to refer to it as Kush as opposed to Nubia, because this land existed before Nubia. Nubia comes late in the history of Nile Valley culture, and Kush takes precedent over Nubia. So I would like to refer to this as a civilization, that Nile Valley civilization that was Cushitic in its essence, that preceded Kemet, that had all the fundamental elements that would later would become an integral part of Kemetic culture and civilization for 3,000 years.
As you continue to travel north along the Hapi, as you begin to go down north, you then move into the country that we today call Sudan. Sudan in the ancient world was known as the land of gold, or called Nubia. And then you move up again into the southern part of Egypt, or Kemet, what is called Upper Kemet, or Upper Egypt. You have a civilization that for thousands and thousands of years are going to flourish. And they are going to build their civilizations, and they are going to create their languages and their scripts. And they are going to continue until they move up into an area that we today call Memphis, which is in the central north region of Egypt today, right south of the Delta. And this is going to be formed by a Neset Biti. They're called pharaohs, but the African word is Neset Biti. And this Neset Biti Mene, also known as Narmer, is going to settle in an area that we know as Memphis. He's going to divert the waters, and he's going to create the kingdom that he is going to call Hiku. And Hiku is, in a sense, it means the spirit or the essence, and Ptah represents a hill from the early writings in astronomy. So Hiku Ptah, because he dumped up land, he's now going to call this area Hiku Ptah, which means the essence or spirit of the hill, which is going to become the theocratic capital of the Kemetic Empire, and he is going to start the first dynasty. From here, you're going to have the dynastic rule of Kemet that is going to be developed from the very first dynasty of Mene, and is going to move through what we call the classical kingdom, where you're going to have the structures that we today call the pyramids. What's important to understand about this word Hikuta is an understanding where the word Egypt comes from. Because the Greeks coming down and embracing African culture, they're going to be in the language that is going to be based on the African language. They're going to take a script that is based on Medu-Neter, or what we call hieroglyphs, and they're going to call Hikupata. They're going to call it Ekupatos. So even when you're dealing with the word Egypt, you're still dealing with the origins of an African word, which is Hikupata, that became Ekupatos. Ekupatos is going to become Egypt.
We can go back to scholars such as Sheikh Anta who scientifically did the research and experimentation to prove that the people of Egypt were African. And we have scholars such as A.C.G. Hilliard, Dr. John Henry Clark, and John Jackson.
They said that the earth was flat like a pancake out in the vastness of space, with the sun and the moon and all the stars going around it. The ancient Egyptians in the Pyramid Age, 6,000 years ago, knew that the world was round. They knew that it went around the sun in 365 and 1/4 days. And their astronomers measured the earth and they knew what the polar diameter was. They knew what the equatorial diameter was. They measured the circumference of the Earth, and they calculated it so accurately until modern astronomers said that error was only 1 yard.
Actually traveled to Africa and actually done the research to find evidences that the original Kemet were indeed African. But unfortunately, what the media does and what society does is focus on the time period in Egypt in which foreigners came in, which the Greek or the Romans. So if you focus on that, it will give the impression that the people of Egypt or Kemet were not African, but were Caucasian. So it depends on whose point of view you look at.
Quote unquote white folks have viewed African civilization for the way the Greeks, not really white people, like Mediterranean people, the white folks think were white in the modern era. The Greeks were very clear, Herodotus was very clear about African civilizations being actually more civilized than European nations. Said all kinds of things very inflammatory about the Egyptians, for instance, and about Nubians and others in Ethiopia, as opposed to Europeans who thought were slothful and lazy and stupid by the whole method. But this is, the father of history, quote unquote, at least in the European Eurocentric imagination, said those things. So you view skin color, and the Greeks did not view skin color as to the issue. It's only at that point where we begin to divide the world based on skin color that it becomes a necessary fiction in order to justify what was already happening on the ground.
That we do see reflecting Egyptians as being white, we have to understand that the people who are writing history don't look like us. And when you write history, you can write it however you want. The winners of history who write it as they see fit, and we write all those others out of history, even if they did contribute. And I think it's important for us to understand that if Europeans do acknowledge that the people who came in were African, there's so many things that have to fall under that, acknowledging that the people that they enslaved are to these great white people who created the first civilization on Earth.
But this is the origins of Kemet. You cannot understand Kemet if you do not understand Kush. You cannot understand Kush if you don't understand the origin of life in Africa, and that there is but one race on the planet, that is the human race. And all of us.
How do you prove that Africa is African? No one asks the question, how do we prove Europe is European? So that question in and of itself speaks to problems that exist within the society. So we look at the people who lived during that period of time. We look at what they wrote about themselves, what they wrote about their ancestors. And what we know beyond a shadow of a doubt by looking at research at Naphtaliya, which is the site of the oldest astroarchaeological calendar in existence. It is a calendar that dates to specific understanding of the cosmos and its effect on the people who lived in that region of the world. That calendar has been dated back to at least 7,000 BC, 3,000 years older than Stonehenge. And Tasseti is where Europeans who were digging in Upper Kemet in preparation for the completion of the Aswan Dam. That entire region of Egypt was going to be flooded under 50 feet of water stretching back 250 miles. So they went in the last effort to access material before it would be lost forever. There was a team of archaeologists from the Oriental Museum in Chicago, affiliated with the University of Chicago. They did the excavations and they sat on that information for 10 years.
Decades ago, there was a study by Keith Seal going into the northern part of what we today call Sudan. He had a student by the name of Dr. Bruce Williams.
Keith Seal, who was the head of that mission, who sat on that information, and then when he died in an automobile accident, one of his assistants, Bruce Williams, finally began to release that information. And Tasseti, in a New York Times publication, referenced Tasseti as the oldest city ever discovered. And in Cusco, they found a cemetery, a tomb in the cemetery in Cusco, where there was this incense burning.
And this tour group, this study group, this archaeological group came upon an incense burner that was found in L14 area of the northern part of Nubia, in an area known as Cusco.
And the incense burner is now on display in the Orient Institute at the University of Chicago. On that incense burner are images that depict fundamental elements that would be an integral part of civilization in Kemet.
It was a very important area because it predated the first dynasty by give or take anywhere between 15 and 20 generations prior to the founding of this first dynasty. The evidence of the oncoming of Menes or Number, the development of what would become the first dynasty.
Tasseti existed at least 200, 300 years before the unification of Kemet 3200 BCE. So what they found on this instance burden are images of a king, a figure who's wearing a crown that is associated with Upper Kemet, the southern part of Kemet. He's sitting in a boat. He is holding in his hand a flail, one of the symbols of the rulership.
This incense burner has the entire royal pantheon.
And in front of him is a symbol of a falcon, Heru. These are all symbols that will become integral to ancient Kemetic culture and civilization. So what that means is culture and civilization followed the flow of the Nile River, moved from south to north.
It was, in fact, the Nubian civilization that would bring forward Medu-Neter. This is why it appears that Medu-Neter appeared in Kemet overnight, but in fact, it was brought into Kemet. It may have been improved, but it was not invented by Kemet. And so this is the evidence that the entire pharaonic system of the first dynasty was already in place and strong going into Kemet that would establish the first dynasty of Kemet.
And as we continue to dig in the south, particularly in Sudan, we will probably find other elements similar to that coastal instance burner. There are more pyramids in Sudan than there are in Egypt.
In temples and tombs of not just Kemet, but when you go into what we today call Sudan, and even when you go into Kenya, you can go to Southern Africa, and you can see these in the Matapan Empire, in what we today call Zimbabwe. That was an entirely related area. Research is also telling us that we can see relationships that are existing between what we call Kemet and Sudan and Southern Africa. We can see connections between the spiritual systems of Nigeria and specifically the Yoruba people of Western Nigeria and Kemet. Many of the Netchers and the peoples who were honored and worshipped in Kemet, we can see them also being honored and worshipped in Nigeria. So there is a cultural unity in Africa.
So those who understand the migration of culture and civilization know that the further south you go, the further up south you go. South is up, north is down. So the further up south you go, the more evidence you'll find of a unquestionably African origins of Nile Valley culture and civilization.
The Olmec, the Mayan, the Inca, the Aztec, the Mixtec, the involvement of Africans in this part of the world. Africans were already in America long before the Olmec culture came. But when you're looking at the Olmec culture, the Olmecs, you see that there was a presence here in America, in the Gulf of Mexico, that are going to build the pyramids in this particular Gulf of Mexico area, including Tres Zapotes, San Lorenzo, and other areas. We have never been exposed to this information before. We have never been exposed to an idea that there's evidence of Ramses III, a pharaoh or a Nesut Petit of the 19th dynasty. There's evidence of him on the Mississippi River. There's evidence of Egypt in America that goes back many millennia. So you've got to lay down the foundations as to how Africans would have had the wherewithal to be able to find themselves in this part of the world. And what we find is that there are 3 ocean currents that leave the coast of West Africa and find themselves on or coming to the American continent or the American hemisphere. From Africa to the continent and back to Africa. There's one somewhat in the middle, and there's one in West Africa, and there's one that would be somewhere near the southern part of Africa, known as the Benguela Current. These belts, almost like moving roads. They could come just by being on the boat with the wind, just putting your sail in a way that the boat could come to this part of the world. So we know that the Kemites, the Egyptians, the Sudanese had this power. We know that they had the boats that would be able to make the trip this way, along with the fact that they had different types of ways in which to power it, whether it was through the wind or whether it was through oars. They knew how to travel the waters that would be the ocean currents and the wind systems. And they knew the seasons to know when the winds would be at their best, so they knew when to travel. Not only is it possible, but they did it, and you can see it in the civilization of the Olmec, of the Maya, of the pyramids. There are over 100 pyramids along the Mississippi River.
You were the original people on this earth. And Americans, so Native Americans said, well, we're the Native Americans. No, we're not the Native Americans. You had Folsom people. The Folsom people were Africans who came to this country way back 16,000 years ago and landed around Texas, New Mexico, and not in Central America. They had called Folsom people. That's like you got Folsom, California, Folsom, Colorado, Folsom, New Mexico. So you got a Folsom prison. Those Folsom people were black people. And when the American goes off into the descendants of Asian came across the space and now they integrated the black and got behind because they integrated became what they call redskins. The blacks are original people, Folsom people. So you have to interpret about what's happening.
This is our land. We're in Northwest Africa, standing right now, we call North America. It's a known fact that it's that. And what happens if I taught you my school system for 12 years, and then 4 more years I'm educating you in my college, you only want to repeat directly what I just said to you. You see what I'm saying? Until someone say, no, this is who we are. Here's the book. Matter of fact, Webster Dictionary, 1937, 1939, Webster Dictionary talks about the definition of America. It's the aboriginal or copper-colored natives found in the American continent by Europeans.
In an effort to deny the African origins of culture and civilization, Europeans have paid money to send people in to excavate. And the more they dig, the more black they find people, the culture, and civilization. When they went to Mesopotamia, to try to find a civilization that preceded Kemet, what they found was black folk. So they stopped digging. They're afraid. Georgia Weisner from Boston Museum of Fine Arts was considered to be one of the foremost authorities on civilization in Kush. When Weisner was excavating in the Sudan in the early 20th century, he said that there's no way black people, Africans, could have developed this culture and civilization. So he was one of the first Europeans to deny the African origins of what was found in Africa. And then his colleague, James Henry Breslin, the founder of the Oriental Institute, in a book he wrote in 1912, I believe, called Ancient Times, Breslin described the people of the Nile Valley as dark-skinned people who are not unlike the Nubians you will find in Nash 1. And then around 1934, 1935, John D. Rockefeller, the founder of the University of Chicago, gave Breslin $1.5 million to establish the Oriental Institute. That's what Rockefeller wanted to do, was to give Breslin the money so that Breslin could go into the Nile Valley, go into Mesopotamia, and find the European origins of civilization.
Today there stands the University of Chicago, the Oriental Institute, the first laboratory ever established for the study of the most remarkable process known to us in the universe, the rise of man from savagery to civilization. It was created in 1919 by Dr. James Henry Breslin, its first director, with funds originally contributed by John Rockefeller Jr. Subsequently, it has been supported by the International and General Education Board and by the Rockefeller Foundation.
So Breslin published a revised edition of Ancient Times in 1935. Breslin removed all references to the Egyptians as dark-skinned people, and then introduced a whole new language. He described the Egyptians as dark-skinned Caucasians. He said that that region of the world was part of the world where the great white race lived. We are dysfunctional beings who don't know what it means to be human. So one of the issues that we're dealing with is that in order to suppress the knowledge of Egypt, Egypt had to be removed from black people and ultimately removed from Africa, so that blockages would be placed in our path as we attempted to recover that which others stole and made illegal in order to prevent us from beginning to regain that knowledge that would empower us and allow us to free ourselves, free our children, and ultimately liberate ourselves from their continued psychological and economic oppression.
When you look at 1492, January 2nd to be exact, there is going to be a cataclysmic change in the way in which the world is structured. This is when Boabdil, the last African king, is repulsed out of Spain in Granada. And that is when the combined nation states of Castile and Aragon, led by Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, are going to retake Spain. And it is going to be from this point that all of the pathways, all of the shipping ways, all of the things that Europe learned from Africans while they were there from 710 to 1492 ACE, after the Christian era. And now all of the roads that led into Europe, Europeans now want to take all those roads out into the world. And they are going to bring a disastrous maafa. Maafa is a Kiswahili word. It means a terroristic disaster that is going to plunder our planet. It is going to change the structure. The Catholic Church is going to go into Africa and claim that God gave them the right to enslave African people, that they're going to create a legal system that is going to enslave because God told them that they were destined to do this. They're going to come to America and they're going to burn the books of the Maya. They're going to burn the books of the indigenous people, saying that they are works of the devil. They're going to burn the books of Africa. They're going to burn the books that are in Europe that Africans brought in there. They are going to change the structure of the world. At the same time, they're going to parasitically attach themselves to the information that they are learning. They are going to come to this part of the world. They're going to go to Asia. They're going to go to India. And they're going to go to war with the world. So that they are stealing African history. But more importantly than that, they're beginning to realize, as Count Volney says in his opening introduction to his book, Ruins of Empires, that the very people that are looked upon below the human structure of the human family, in other words, the Africans that are being enslaved in France and St. Lucia and Martinique and in Louisiana, are the very people who give the world the arts and the sciences. And so you can see the war that's going to occur now is going to be to take the information and change it completely. When someone tells a perfect lie, the truth becomes unbelievable, 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 unbelievable. What happened in the areas that we today in history call the medieval period, or even some people call it the Dark Ages of Europe. When you go into the research and you study what was actually happening in the world, what you're going to look at is you're going to see the destruction of what was called the Holy Roman Empire. There will be northern Germanic tribes that are going to come down out of the northern areas and regions of places in Germany and in the northern parts of Europe. And they are going to come down across the globe, down south, and they are going to sack the Holy Roman Empire. That is what causes the fall of the Roman Empire. The Visigoths and Vandals are going to come down, and they're going to settle in this area that we today call España or Spain, Portugal. Somewhere in the 600s, the late 600s, you're going to have Northern Africans and you're going to have Northwest Africans who are going to travel north. They're going to find themselves on the coast of Morocco in a place called Ceuta. In 710, there is going to be a lieutenant in the army of the North Africans, and his name is going to be Tarif. Tarif is going to travel into Spain, and he's going to set up a reconnaissance mission for the general that he works for. And while there, he's going to establish a small enclave that is today called Tarif. And this is where we get the concepts of a tariff or to pay to travel, named after Tarifa, Lieutenant Tarifa. He's going to return. He's going to come back to his general, whose name is Ibn Tariq. Tariq now, in July of 711, is going to cross over, and he's going to go into Spain. And what's interesting is that there are families and there are people in Spain that welcome the coming of these Africans. And they are going to move from Africa, and they're going to move into Spain, and they're going to do battle with the Visigoths. Eventually, Rodrigo, one of the last generals of the Visigothic kingdom, is going to be killed, and the Africans are going to continue across the Pyrenees into France, and they're going to go across into Europe and bring with them the technology and the knowledge that they have amassed from the ancient kingdoms that they've been studying.
Let's go back for a minute. A lot of people really don't understand the history of the Moors, because when you study history, the Moors are the original Phoenicians, the Canaanites, the Moabites, the Hammonites, all those people. Charles Martel was one of the guys who was actually a big part of defeated the Moors, basically. The Moors, after they defeated the Moors also fell right directly after that. They made it easier for them to destroy the Moors. Of course, he had to defeat Isabella and Ferdinand.
Charles Charles Martel, who is the grandfather of Charlemagne, is going to repel the Africans back into Spain, and the boundaries of Spain that we refer to as Al-Andalusia, which means the walk in the spiritual life. Al-Andalusia is going to be bounded in the north by Sierra Guadarrama. They're going to be bounded on the east by the Ebro River. And then they're going to be bounded by the coastline that's going to be the Mediterranean into the Atlantic Ocean, which is going to bound the southern part of Spain and the western part of Portugal. They're going to settle here and remain here from basically 711 until 1492, January 2nd, 1492. General Boabdil is overcome by the combined kingdoms of Aragon and Castile, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand.
Man, we was there from 711 to 1492. We was there for a long time. We was there way before that, but you got to, if we go beyond 700s, when you start there 136 BC and all the other things, we've been here, but when they went back, and they really were fighting one another. See, people don't understand, when you look up Hercules, you know, Maximum Hercules was actually a Roman emperor. So you had Hannibal was the Carthaginian war, so we always fought one another back and forth. They were tribal wars. So we didn't here, we just went directly back in. But what happens, the Anglo-Saxons saw us fighting one another, and they stepped in the fight. You know what I mean? And then that's the separate started coming about. And he saw weakness in us like that.
War is broken out of centuries ago. Now we've taken it back. That is a tragic victory for us. We're losing a great culture. I suppose there's prices to pay for every victory. Isn't there something about it?
Now, Moors were, like I said again, the Phoenicians, the original Romans that we call Romans. We talk about the ancient Romans, which Moors are Africans. Okay, so a lot of people get it twisted as if you're talking about modern day Moors, we're talking about ancient Moors. So the Moors are the people that is called black in color today, basically. But before that, was the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, the Hittites, and all these types of people. So that's what the Moors are to this day, without contradiction.
While here, these Africans are going to bring agricultural science. They are going to bring in the orange, they're going to bring in the strawberry. They're going to bring in different types of foods. They're going to bring in the idea of eating in courses. They also will bring in eating utensils.
The spices that people in India use, or the olive oil that's in Italy, I mean, all that stems from Moors, because Moors always love spices. So it's a whole host of things that actually came directly from Moors.
They will bring in fashion. Whereas instead of wearing the same garment all year long, they're going to bring in other types of fabric that these Africans have been exposed to.
Linen, man. I mean, the linen that we wear everything, what the Italians wear. Like, you know, the people say Italian-made suits. It's not Italian-made suits, they wore suits. They just tag it anymore. You follow me?
There's an active relationship between China and the East and Africa. There is a wonderful trade going on. They're sharing. They are not at war with each other. They are communicating with each other. There is evidence of elephants being brought into China on boats, huge boats. Those boats still exist today in museums. There were many things happening in the world at this time that Europe was not a part of. And out of this is going to come the music, the development of the first music conservatory that is going to be located in Spain. Africans are going to bring in libraries. They're going to bring in the idea of developing homes that are related to the winds. They brought in concept of building your homes where the cool air can bring in a refrigerated air. They're going to create universities. They're going to create the University of Salamanca, Lisboa in Portugal, universities in France, such as Toulouse. They're going to develop universities throughout Europe, where the knowledgeable people will go to learn, and these Africans are going to be doing this type of research, and there will be some who will come to the New World.
They wonder how you are positioned since we've lost 5 days ago.
What are you thinking of this?
I know you're navigating by the stars like the Moors do, but I don't know how.
So when many of your so-called organizations allege to be aiding or helping our people, and we're telling them about the truth of Moorish history in the world, and particularly in Europe, etc., including the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is where you get the term to be born again that you hear Europeans talk about in church, etc. That's where the 7 liberal arts were introduced to Europe and brought them out of what was known as the medieval period
into the modern era.
As a student of history, I also know civilization was dead to Islam. It was Islam in places like Uluzan. It carried the light of learning through so many centuries, paving the way for Europe's Renaissance and Enlightenment.
When the Moors first came into Europe, they were coming up out of a lot of different situations, a lot of different diseases. Africans brought in the concept of salt. They brought in something that they called alcohol, A-L-K-U-H-L, and today we call it alcohol. They realized that the great majority, upwards of maybe somewhere between 95 and 90% of Europe was illiterate. Now, illiterate, we have to understand, is that the world was an agricultural world. There was no real reason to study the higher levels of science and arts. But in Africa, these subjects had been in place for thousands of years. And they brought these universities in, and they began to build these universities, and they began to educate the people. The first math rigor that you face in freshman year is algebra. This is algebra brought in by the Moors, and it is to search for the unknown. So you're searching for what that X represents. And the equal sign, we know that whatever you do on one side of the equal sign, you do on the other side of the equal sign. So you have in your formulations the idea of searching for the unknown, like searching for justice, balance, and harmony, and the laws of mind. So after you have mastered algebra, geometry, and trigonometry, you then begin the calculations of the heavens and the earth, which we call calculus. So they brought in this concept of a pattern of study.
Usually, it's just referred to the seven liberal arts: rhetoric, mathematics, cosmology, etc., linguistics, trigonometry. It's the foundation of what is used in general education actually across the world.
It was innovation in Muslim communities that developed the order of algebra, our magnetic compass, and tools of navigation, our mastery of pens and printing, our understanding of how disease spreads and how it can be healed.
They have subcategories, jurisprudence. You have subcategories. The jurisprudence actually is the superior title on which laws come, which we call laws, studies of laws, types of law, categories of law. There's a law come under jurisprudence.
The educational system too, we were the first mothers and fathers of them. The first mothers and fathers of civilization teaching history and law and language. Yeah. So all of that comes from us. Even the language we use today, we say it's Latin, but we call it Moorish Latin. And they use Latin today in the court. You follow me? Everything they say that is Latin. You put paper sign, and he is correct. The Latin term was also extended from the Moors, which is also an offshoot of Arabic.
And of course, as you can see, many of the Europeans would imitate the Moors, and they had set a party for what was known as the Wickham Party. This is where Europeans would wear the curly wigs that they do even today in England to imitate the Moors who actually brought down civilization.
They had a freedom of religion. So every spiritual system had their own court of law and the way in which they would develop their court of law and they would judge themselves. And so what Africans brought in was a tremendous amount of freedom. There was a great amount of freedom for women. There were women who were brought into the main industries.
And throughout history, Islam has demonstrated through words and deeds the possibilities of religious tolerance and racial equality. I also know that Islam has always been a part of America's story. The first nation to recognize my country was Morocco. In signing the Treaty of Tripoli in 1796.
The science and culture of the Moors is loosely referred to in world culture as the study of mother and son, or what you call Set and Horus, on her knee, which is mother and son, or Mason. And so when you're talking about Moors in Europe, you must recognize that the United States Corporation Company is a European colony, and you cannot separate the two. So if you're going to talk about European history or American history, they cannot rightfully be talked about as separate subjects because they're intertwined, actually. And of course, this is also why anyone in positions of authority or what you call political economic powers must be Masons and must in secret wear the Moorish status. Even they dress it up in jewels and they pay the tax to them because they're not the Americans. You are.
I believe our Creator, in looking at the pyramid builders, realized that these Africans lived in a paradise. They had problems. I'm not saying that they lived in a perfect paradise. They had a little bit of a problem, but for the most part, they lived in a world that was more heaven than anything else. And our Creator said, we need to help you understand the world because we need to create a more perfect world. So with all of your theories of hell, you've never been it before. So somewhere along this cosmic history, we're going to pull a group of you Africans out and we're going to place you in hell. And we're going to make you experience a life that no one ever knew existed because only someone who actually could inflict that kind of pain with no conscience could ever do to another human being. And then claim that God told them they had the right to do this. We're going to do this. However, we know that only the best of the best is going to survive this. And those that survive are going to be those that are going to set in place a new world order. And so, Europeans came into Africa and they stole children and people from Africa. Imagine you playing in your backyard or playing in your home and someone invades your home and snatches your family. Only the best of the best could survive that attack. And then they're going to take those that survive, the best of those best, they're going to track them for miles across land. Only the best of the best could survive that movement across. They're going to then, when they get to the edge of the coast, prisons on top of each other, where they are going to go to the bathroom on each other, they are going to vomit on each other, they are going to cry on each other. Only the best of the best could survive that. And after a little while, they're going to take the best of the best that didn't die in those prisons and they're going to put them on boats. And they're going to take them across the waters. Only the best of the best could survive that trip. They're then going to bring them to a land and they're going to subjugate them to torture, to pain, to murder, and to mayhem. They're going to inflict the pain on these people. Only the best of the best could survive that. Then after they torture them and they get them to fall into their will, they're then going to sell them to various places within the areas and they're going to make them work for free. They're going to deny them every right that a human being has. In fact, they're not even going to be considered human beings. They're going to be counted with the cows and the goats and the other possessions. Imagine what I'm saying, because only the best of the best could survive that. Then, one day, they're going to be so-called freed. Free for what? Free to do what? Free to go where? What about 40 acres and a mule? Only the best of the best could survive that. They then are going to fight in a civil rights movement, fight in a human rights movement. They're going to create strategies as to how they can begin to get their rights. Only the best of the best could do this. Remember my story about the Creator taking that group out and placing them in hell. So we not only know the heaven, but we know the hell. We now can make a choice as to where we're going in our future. And so we, the people who have the DNA of the heaven, we have the DNA of the hell, we are going to rise.
All right. Stop it right there. Stop it right there. Okay. So let me open up the line for you right quick. Let me get that in here so we can open up and participate. Unmute. Okay. All right. All righty there, folks. Thank you very much for hanging in there for on a Father's Day. I know some people said it was kind of choppy. You know, I just wanted to play. I mean, I'm gonna get out what I can. If you want to, it is called Out of Darkness. If you want to purchase, you can go online and find out where I'll find out where they are. But I just thank you guys for hanging in there. After watching all that, it's a lot that was said there. So much. I mean, that's why I say that's an hour. We can talk about that. It's 3 hours. So we just start right there. In the beginning, he was talking about our history, the war on history with us, how they take our history, our language, value, interests, and principles. And that's a lot said right there. They take it and they change it to what they want. And that's how we're in the predicament we're in right now. So I'm just going to open up the line. Anybody want to say anything?
Hey, Dennis, can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, LaShawn.
Hi, this is LaShawn in Chicago. As always, thank you for sharing this with us. When he started out by saying, taken away, right away that just tells me this is reprogramming, because this plan was already in place, ready to go based on what they wanted to do, and it was just all the way about how they did it. I hope that everybody on here feels that they are the best of the best, because we came from the ones that actually survived all of that. And to think that even, I mean, I know it happened, but then when you hear it and when you see it, it's like, it's amazing they survived any of this. So that's what I have to say for right now, Dennis. Back to you.
All right. I understand the emotion. I feel you. And, it is true from what we survived. I always say we are the best of the best, but we have not been taught that. We've been institutionalized to think they're better, they start everything, but we are the cradle of civilization. And as they said in the picture there, the farther they reach back, the darker it gets, the more black they see. And that's all of it. And they talk about the meta nature. I mean, we got so much history here in just that hour. You got a lot of stuff in it. It takes you back. It ain't the best thing to watch because we can't get emotional with it, like LaShawn, I know you are. But it's the truth. You know, the truth hurts, but the truth will set you free. So I see Kai's hand up. So Kai, you go ahead and go next.
Hey, everybody. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, just to go off, I think great minds think alike, because I was also thinking about the last thing that Professor Kaba said, about the people who were the best of the best were the ones who were able to survive. I think that that's really important for African Americans to realize, because sometimes when you look at our people, sometimes we seem ignorant, but that's, we were programmed to do that, so you can't tell people, oh, well, you can't read or we'll kill you, or, you can't do these things and set up all of these systems, and then talk about how lazy they are or how ignorant they are, because they were programmed to do that. Even with the music industry with our young people, it's the people who have control of those things are the ones who tell these young people, if you sound like this, I'll put that out. They're not telling them, oh, if you start rapping about things that are intelligent, we'll make you famous. That's not what they're telling our young people. So I think that it's important to realize that things were done by design. And even like with divide and conquer, I think about that sometimes, because one side of my family is from the South and the other side is from the Caribbean. I grew up in a predominantly Caribbean neighborhood, and if people didn't hear me speak just by how I look, they would just assume that I'm all Caribbean. So I've been in settings where they'll talk about African Americans, or I have friends who, tell me what other people have said about African Americans. And we need to be aware of that, that's divide and conquer. But when our brothers and sisters are in a low place, that was done by design. So it's really up to the people who are conscious and who are striving to move forward to try to pull our brothers and our sisters up. Because, anytime we're really given a level playing field, we usually take over, like we've seen in the sports industry, but also even with Surge. Like if you just saw a video of like a conference or a convention or something, you would think that it's mostly Black people until you actually see who's at the top. So I just wanted to add to that. The other thing that did stand out, and then I'll let someone else go, is that it's really important that we teach our children from young, their greatness. So like your grandson Dennis was born on Juneteenth, so that was awesome. Congratulations. Being a grandson. But when I was looking at Atlanta's Broader, that's Anthony Broader's daughter. And I remember like years ago, I'm talking like probably 30 something years ago, she had put out a book when she was a little girl about her first trip to Egypt. I have that book because my cousin had the book when she was a little girl. So, looking at her now as a grown woman and how she was positioned because of what her father taught her, now we're listening to her speak her truth and consciousness. So it's up to us to really teach our youth because they are great. It's just up to us to bring that greatness out. Back to you.
All right. Great. Now that you talk about Anthony Browder's daughter, I saw her a couple of years ago. We were in Chika Akua's boot camp on how to write a book in 30 days. So it's amazing how you don't know who you're going to meet in this world with 6 degrees of separation. Now with internet, it's probably 3 degrees of separation. But you are totally correct. We all have to stick together. They do want us to be divided and conquered. We are the best of the best, and we're going to continue to do better as we go on. So I see Cece, your hand is up over there in the corner. So I see your hand raised. So you go ahead, Sister Cece.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace and blessings on gods and goddesses, kings and kings, brothers and sisters, friends. And again, a happy Father's Day, as the Queen's already said, to all the fathers. It is so wonderful to have some fathers, some great fathers, as well as Dennis. Hey, I know you in heaven again with your grandson. So yeah, you go with your bad self. Yeah. Heaven, being with our grandbabies is like heaven. So it's all good. The Queens, they did say it. The best, and also the brother, he said, we're the best. The best. We survived so much. And not only did we survive, we thrived through that to release our potential, which is what they got us for anyway, which is why they hijacked us, was because of our potential. They knew that. They had not the skills we had, and they had not the knowledge we had. And so that is why they gave us their history and took ours. And right now they're even fighting to have that Egyptian status on one hand, but to us, they make it look evil. But you look in the news and in the cartoons and in the history books, they're fighting to take our Egyptian knowledge again. Like I said, hijack. So it is not. I'm not surprised that the Bible, whom they have translated so many times, and they've taken it and they've used it. They've used it for evil, but when it was meant as a book to use for good and to learn from the mistakes of, and so this is what all the holy writings are, and that's why I appreciate the variedness that God has made us all in. And I'm right now doing a series on my show, Leaders in Purpose, about them tainting our religious writings. And the reason why is because they are actually lynching, killing for sport our people right now. They're actually doing that, and they never stop, but it's out in the open. And to me, that is, I can't just sit and just have strange fruits sung again. I'm flabbergasted. And so I'm challenging on my TV show this government. I'm challenging its mental capacity, and I'm implying that because it lost the mother principle, it's in a war culture that it needs to come out of, and to do that, it needs the matriarchal principle, because this is the result we're having right now. I don't believe that any of this would have happened in the matriarchal cultures. But I do believe there needs to be the best of both worlds, because both of them had their idiosyncrasies. And all of this that we're going through right now, we're looking at, is a result of a post-colonial patriarchal system. For even the church to say God's human beings are less than animals, and I brought them to the scriptures, Genesis 1. If you want to go to your scriptures, Genesis 1, and everything God created was good. Can God look down and say everything that's being created right now is good? I don't believe this would happen in my patriarchal system. So I believe both of them should come together, the patriarchal and the matriarchal system. And that's that I'm looking for solutions right now. Because I think we're already being used for body parts, our organs for the undergo for body parts. Our pineal gland, the melanin in our pineal gland is when our kids are in the street dying. The melanin from the pineal gland is used to increase the libido, to just so they don't tan, and psychic powers for the Chinese. And now they're saying in order for them to have the vaccine, they have to have Black participants. Why? Because they need our melanin, way, shape, fashion, or form. And so I appreciate this, because so this lets me know that we have to have a real agenda to fix these things, because everybody's talking. I'm so glad that we're getting that information out so everybody can look inside and see what can we do actively to fix. And that's what I'm doing here. And because of this, European, Anglo-Saxons, Caucasoids, whichever one group they fall in, every time somebody spoke out against this, they kill us. That's their answer. So that's why I believe this post-colonial patriarchal society needs to change from the Constitution to the religious preference. Now we're we're Christian, we do follow the Christian principles, but the ruling class, they use it to control us. And so I think they need to be out, and those put in who and we know the 10 Commandments came from God. So, that's unity to me. All of us together, that's unity. But those who are just living a facade, yeah, they need to come out. So whatever way we can do that, praise God. We got those kings and queens, gods and gods in place to do it. So thank you. Peace, everybody.
All right. You talked about solutions, and the solution that we have to unite. We have to spend our money together. We have to, unite and do business together, have our own business, become entrepreneurs. We did it back then. He says out there, he says, how can you take the next step if you don't know what your last step was?
Right.
History lets you know that. And they wanted to, as you say, they tried to do everything to erase all of our history, everything that we've done. Even with a clock, we made the water clock. All of technology is done through us way back hundreds, thousands of years ago. And what it's showing you, even if you look at the hieroglyphics on the wall, they're helicopters and planes way back then. Thousands and thousands of years ago, technology was there, but they wanted to wipe that out. They can't build a pyramid today the way they built them back then. So we have all the knowledge in our head. They just want to erase it and let us look up to their war culture, or the only thing they've ever done is take. I've heard them say that when you steal something, you can never imitate what is at the top. You will never be what you stole from. You always can try to do something, but the person that did it, created himself, you can't replace that mind. You can't replace Big Benjamin Banneker, who made Washington, D.C. out of his head. You can't do that. We have the mindset that no one else has. Like you said, we're the best of the best. Who else but us as a people can go through what we went through and still be here today and going through what we're going through today and still survive? If you ever been in business with them or a job with them or anything, it's a total difference. And I'm going to go ahead and end right there and let Shuna, you have your hand raised, so I'm going to let Shuna go ahead from there. Shuna, go ahead.
I do. I'm still writing. There's so much information. It's a lot that stuck out for me, especially along with what everybody else said, that we are the best of the best. And that's what it starts with, believing that we are the best of the best, because if we go back and study our history and see what our ancestors went through even so far as some of what some of our grandparents went through. Oh, telling our age, huh?
All right.
What some of our grandparents went through, and taking it back onto before slavery. We have to start looking before slavery, because we didn't start with slavery. And the history that we have here makes it seem like we started with slavery, but we have to get beyond that and go back to the real history. And we have to be willing to do that. We must be willing to do that. We can't no longer walk around with our eyes wide shut. I keep saying that. We can't no longer walk around with our eyes wide shut. There's things happening around every day. Now it's a couple times a day to show us what I'm gonna just say what their intentions are, what their mentality is, and how they feel about us. It's so important and so crucial right now that we start doing things, start sticking together, and taking massive, massive action every day to do something, even if it is just to educate yourself so that you're able to teach somebody else. And even what we learning right here on today, we need to take this information and share it with somebody. Okay, we need to use all of the documentaries that we've watched so far. We need to take that information and share it with somebody so that they can awaken too. It's about shaking everybody, waking our people up, and getting everybody moving, because we have to do something. We can't just no longer get on our knees and pray. I'm not saying don't pray. We got to pray. But if you spiritual, you believe God giving you the answer, then I find it so very hard to believe, and I'm not going to apologize, but I find it so very hard to believe that are people getting on their knees and praying, and God is telling them to constantly get back down on their knees and pray. That God is not telling you to get up and do something. I find that hard to believe. If you really believe in God and you claim that you're so spiritual, I find it so hard. If God is not speaking to you and telling you to get up and do something, then you probably do need to get back down on your knees and pray again, because with everything that's going on right now, we all need to be doing something to make a change, to make a difference. Talk to somebody, do something. Do something. Don't just get on here, watch the video, and we chit chat about it, and we make this a social club. Ma'am, sir, this is not a social club, okay? This is not for you to get on and watch a movie and talk about it. This is for you to do something. This is for us to make a change. This is for us to learn about our history and do something about what we learn. I mean, what's going on. Use what we learned to do something about what's going on, okay? It could be your daughter, it could be your son, your mother, your father, anybody. Don't wait till it hits your home, okay? We're all family. We all of our ancestors came from that ship. We don't even know if we brother and sister, because so many people were divided when they came over here that we don't even know. We could all on this Zoom right now be related to each other and not know it, because of the way people were divided. And that old saying, zebra don't change their stripes, they don't change their stripes. I got to say one more thing. I have a friend that not a friend anymore, okay? Because he got online yesterday and he talked about Black people so bad. He went to that rally rally for the cops or whatever. I forgot what it was called, but it was a rally for people that are supporting the police. Somebody might know what I'm talking about. But anyway, he's walking from one corner to the next corner and talking about Black men and how Black men are doing all this bad stuff, and Christians not doing this and not doing that, but how Black people, we making all this happen to ourselves, you know, like we're like thugs and all this sort of stuff. But of course, he's married to a white woman. So, but I'm like, you know what? You are no longer my friend. I was so embarrassed. I wasn't there. I just saw it on Facebook, but I was so embarrassed that this an older Black man, 52 years old, could be on Facebook, which is worldwide, talking about Black people the way that he was, and saying that basically like we brought this all on ourselves. Like we brought ourselves from Africa, you know, we jacked up our own ancestors, you know, and now we's paying the consequences or something like that for it. But it was so embarrassing. And we didn't do that. This all happened to us. This is real. It's reality. It's our reality. And we have to firstly accept it. Like I said from the beginning, we have to accept that this is our reality and that we got to stick together. And one more thing, I keep saying, some of us, yeah, we're mixed race because of what happened. That wasn't our choice either. Some of us are mixed race. A lot of us are mixed race, but that doesn't mean we're not Black. We're African American, African, whatever, however you want to see yourself. We're still all Black people. We still got to stick together, and every day we got to be doing something. Even like I said, if it's just educating yourself so that you can share with somebody else. But don't just make this a social club. That's my bottom line. Okay, that's it.
All
Back to
right,
you guys.
all right. Thank you, Shirley. You got a lot out there. Whoever that man was out there, he's one of them collaborators with the other race. He's the one that we need to get rid of. You know,
well, you know what? I would love to speak with the guy. He's just misinformed.
Right, he's a brainwashed.
Don't not be his friend anymore. Have an intelligent discussion with the man.
Tried to educate him.
Yeah.
Ask him, why does he feel the way he does or think the way he does?
He's got his reasons.
Realize that we've been to this point.
I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of people are fed up with Black people, so don't get that twisted.
That's true.
You know, because a lot of people see the niggers out there. Now I know we take it as a term of endearment sometimes, and my wife says you need to stop saying that word. I know, but you know, because I talk with a lot of white people, and they're under the impression, why can't Black people just move on? And they need to understand why we can't. And we can, but there's certain things that they don't understand. Like we talked about how there's books written. So we can actually show the books to say, hey, look, this is what your people put out, saying how to destroy the Black man. They never saw those books. But there's books written about taking the Black man out the family. If you take the Black man out the family, you do all these other things. You say, okay, don't say, go read this book. Get the book, show them the book, show them the pages. And then maybe they'll get an understanding of what's really happening out there. Because, as a father with daughters and with the wife, you just can't say get over it. I had to learn people feel the way they feel for a reason. And I just can't dismiss why you feel that way. It may be small to you, but to me it's big. And sometimes people just don't understand that, and they have to learn how to really listen and understand. Because my daughters, especially one of them, will come with me the most trivial stuff in the world, and my thing is, yeah, just get over it. We had to, when you couldn't survive back in my time, but that's not it. She feels that way for a reason, and I gotta acknowledge and understand that. And that's what's going on right now is we feel this way for a reason, but you won't acknowledge why we feel this way. And that's where our anger comes from, because you refuse to understand, or you don't want to see it or understand. So that guy, wrong as he may be, there's a reason for his feelings. And I'm gonna tell you, you get it there and educate him a little bit if he's your friend. And I'm gonna find that book, that article, when they talk about how to control the Black family and all this other stuff and control. And if you had that book, and if he was a real person, have him look at them books and read it. That it may change his attitude. He might get a divorce after he reads that. You never know.
You talking about?
But see, people like that, they don't even know who they are.
Correct.
Right.
That's the problem. They've been somewhat brainwashed. I mean, it just irks me.
Everybody's brainwashed.
Well, but I'm just talking about towards your own, against your own race. When I see black people supporting this grand wizard that's in the White House, I have a problem with that. Because if you support this man is part of the Ku Klux Klan. If you don't believe that, something you ain't been watching what's going on around here. But
he's worse than the Klan guys. Don't say that, because he don't even like those people. Because he's above those people.
But what I'm saying is that white supremacy mess. And when I see black people supporting that, I'm like, where have they been? I mean, I'm looking at, they had a whole section of black folks at that stupid rally yesterday.
And
they
partying.
just sitting there all proud and happy. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And then you got people like this little dumb girl named Candace Owens. She just as ignorant could be. Then you got Larry Elder. He just as ignorant could be. Then you got these people, black people. Well, I don't even know if I want to call them black. Well, people of color. I'll put it that way. That's really given a bad impression on our race, and they're in the forefront. So those are the people who we have to get rid of, and just, I don't know, they get on my last nerve.
You can say the same thing about Tim Scott, but yeah. I want to get my point back on what we're talking about on what we saw. And I love history through school. I mean, I can talk about history all day long, but it was interesting. I just didn't know my history, and I love the stories of Hercules and all those other, and coming to find out that was stolen because there was a black man that they switched the story and turned him to all that other stuff. So, so let's talk about it. So you want to talk about reparations then? Why do we need money? How come we just ask them to let us get our history back? How come we just can't say, okay, let us, learn about ourselves? How come we can't talk in the classroom about, because I'm sure they won't, but imagine if, because I guess if they do it, I'll find out that they stole everything, but I got to, but this is the point that I want to say this. How far do we need to go back to make change? Okay. And, and I'm going to tell you something. When that kings and queen thing rubs me the wrong way. Good morning, king. Good morning, queen. I understand that you acknowledge people like that. But, I'd rather be known as a businessman. I'd rather be known as an entrepreneur. I'd rather be, good morning, you entrepreneur. Good morning, this. Because when I see a king or a queen, the only thing I see is somebody that oppressed people, who made their wages on people's backs. Now, you guys might see it differently, but when I keep African people calling us kings and queens and stuff, you ain't gonna be a king or a queen, but you can be a businessman. You can be this. Call that thing out to people, or call them something more that we can actually achieve to be now. If you guys hear my point on that, but I just hear it all the times, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But the other thing is that I want to say is this. I mean, but how far do we need to go back? Because I went back. I see the world differently from one generation. And that's only because my father went out and was a bricklayer, a professional boxer, was just trying to make ends meet. I heard he was practically a bum, and then turned out to become a millionaire. So that's one generation that I saw that changed my life. So if we can go back just one generation and make change, y'all feel what I'm trying to say here? Instead of coming, okay, I understand all that, but can't we just start now? You be that one change. You do that. You be that to make change. Be there for the people. That's what I want to say on this subject, because I do love and I think it's important that we know all this. And the worst thing about black folks, from what I can understand, is mathematics kills us, and we invented mathematics. Okay, and mathematics is the key to everything. He said mathematics, and then he talked about some other types of science. See, and if we start getting to that stuff instead of the rappers and the basketball players and the singers, you see, because it's the inventors and all the other things. Those are the people who make changes in the world, and that's what we need to be raising, and things like that. Artists and people who can actually do something to make this a better place. So my challenge is to everybody, be that one a generation. Be that person that everybody can look up to. Go as far as you can in your life. Don't put no limitations on it, you know. And like I was talking with Dennis the other, Dennis said something, you know, I'm in the process of buying buying 156 acres in Arizona with the golf court and trying to build a resort. And Dennis said, man, I didn't know we could do something like that. And you know, but Dennis's eyes is open and he can see certain things now, you know, and I'll make sure that Dennis is a part of it and some other people. But the main thing is, you know, we have to start being that change and the change that people could see. So that's my 2 cents.
All right. I love all that you guys said, and you are totally correct. And Suna's correct. Everybody, Suna, you next. I see your hand raised. But I like to, yeah, see, hold on for a sec. Give me a sec. Okay, Suna's next, and you can go. But what I see is like with our history, they have rewritten it. You know, like they say, they come in, they destroy it, they take all the books, and like you said, Kelvin, one generation back, I understand that we have to start right now. It doesn't make a difference what has happened. We just can't make the same mistakes because what we're doing. I got a young lady who has a grandson, and he's 6 years old, and he's going to school, mostly a white school. He came home and said, "Hey, white people are better than us." You know, that's a taught thing. That wasn't when you went to school, you didn't talk like that. Now you're coming home and saying, at 6 years old, white people are better than this. I don't want to be black no more. I want to be white. Now he's in an all white school, maybe two black children, but still what he's getting implemented, as we call brainwashed. And if they do, as we look at 70% of teachers are Caucasian females, white. And what they've done is they go through history and they rewrite the book.
And
everything, like you said, Hercules, they rewrite the book. We didn't know Hercules was black. I didn't know he was black. I was like, hey, white guy. They take out, and I'm in Texas one day, I'm talking to a guy, he doesn't even know Egypt is in Africa. As a matter of fact, he said Egyptians aren't black because that's what he sees. He said, didn't you see the 10 Commandments? You should see that. But this is the information, the media that they're putting out to us, and we need to see stuff like this, Out of the Darkness, Hidden Colors, an elementary genocide, to let us know what the truth is. Because if you don't know the truth, like the guy Shuna's talking about, the pastor, he likes white people, but he likes black people. It's our fault. You know, we didn't come here, we were stolen, brought here, enslaved, done all kinds of things to. But a lot of our people don't see it that way. And that's our job as to keep the information going, understanding what we see and pass it on. Like Shuna said, we have to take action. Like Kelvin said, we have to take action and build, make things happen, purchase things, put our money together. I always say it comes down to the money. If you ain't got no money, you ain't getting no honey, ain't no romance without no finance, whatever you want to say, it's all good, but we still, at the bottom of the line, have to start and build from that way up. If we don't have any money, we can't do anything. And our history is very important. And we need to know, as Calvin, you know, kings and queens, that's just something for us to look up to. I'd rather be called a king than a slave. Or you know, so it's giving us, it's uplifting in a way. So I understand what you mean.
I'd rather be called a billionaire than a king.
Okay. Hey, I'd rather be called Mansa Musa, you know, 400.
There it is.
The richest man in the world who was a king.
All right.
You know, we got to understand that's the kind of stuff that we have. And any way you look at it, it comes down to us as being creators of it all. I got all kind of hands raised. So I'm going to go ahead and go. Suna, Cece, then LaShawn, okay? Go ahead, Suna.
Okay. Yeah, I want to say that too. With the kings and queens, we call each other that because it's a reminder that we have the rule over ourselves, that nobody's in control of what we do, of our thinking. Okay, so when we call each other queens and kings and queens, that's all we're doing is reminding each other, you got rule over you. Nobody needs to tell you, you don't have to go by what's on the media, on TV. You don't have to go by what's on social media. You rule you, you guide you. You do what you do you. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to say. I just want to touch on that. But, and he said he might rather be called a billionaire, a millionaire, and for us to teach each other that. but we have to take the first step to wake people up out of this deep slumber that they're in from media and the lies that they learned in school. We have to wake them up from that deep sleep in order to get them to activate the natural gifts that they don't even realize that they have within them. So we have to get them to change. First, tell them what these paradigms, those are paradigms. We have to tell them what these paradigms are and what a paradigm is in order for them to be able to shift those paradigms to the positive and realize the gift, whatever that gift is that they have within them, so that they can activate that to move, to take the steps that it takes to become an entrepreneur and doing things that they should be doing in order for change of everything, their lives, their children's lives, their home, and I'm gonna stop. That's
okay.
it.
All right. Thank you, CC. I mean, Shuna. I'm looking at CC.
Shuna.
Shuna, thank you very much. I appreciate all of you guys' input. Thank you very much. I like it when we're being boisterous, because we've always had our voices covered or muted, not able to say certain things. So I appreciate everybody who's spoken and speaking up today. So CC, on to you, then LaShawn.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all the comments of my brothers and sisters. You know, you are so correct. Sometimes the labels that are used, they lose meaning, and words they lose meaning because they're used so loosely and they get so redundant. And you know, that's been the way with the word love. Them kings and queens, it's been that way with that and other words. When I look at kings and queens, look at it from a European, Anglo-Saxon, Caucasian a viewpoint, yes, it's very oppressive. And as Dennis in this video pointed out, it's very slave-minded and slave and labor intensified. And but when I look at kings and queens and royalty, I look at who Dennis had talked about, King Mansa Musa, Queen Nzinga, Queen Nami, all are royal brothers and sisters who if we step back, we'll step back in their shoes and we'll see the greatness and the civilization and the legacies that they built. And when we do that, we do what you do, my brother, you're a billionaire and we're millionaires and trillionaires. And so I praise my aunt, which is the truth and justice part of God, for interdependence, because we all need each other. Our differences are our strengths, and our similarities is our foundation. And the Europeans use that against us with the Willie Lynch syndrome, so that they made a difference of our hair, of our skin tone. They made a difference of our age, and you know, and our station in life. And now, because of that teaching, we do the same. And so you're right, it is a relearning and a reteaching. But because we're dimensional people, so much needs to be done. It's wonderful that we're dimensional people, because we need to do it like right now in a hurry. And so I thank God that we as right and left brain thinkers, which is what, you know, we originally were. The Europeans are non-melanated people are mainly the left brain thinkers, and we are the right brain thinkers. But it's so wonderful when we, like Brother says, bring them together, because we are the creators of math and geometry and trigonometry. And as a matter of fact, my art is math. So I praise God for where we've been, because that lets me know where I'm going, and the information that's coming through. So as the sister pointed out, we can implement into our lives, ourselves, our family, our community, our nation, and our world.
All right. Thank you, CC. I really appreciate it. Yes, we are creators. And like Kelvin said, we have to be entrepreneurs, which we are naturally. We're born with that. So we have to go out and put that into the world. And as I said, you know, King Mansa Musa, you know, he had to come up. He had a brother who went over to the Americas. It's a lot of things that we don't know. And as being a king, you have to come up through the ranks as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead over to, all right, Kelvin, we're going to let LaShawn go, and then we're going to go to Kelvin. Sean, you're next.
Okay, so what I wanted to say was happy Father's Day to all the ones that are fathers, but there are also people that are fathers to other people's children. They might not have any children of their own, but they are fathers because they're stepping in and seeing what needs to be done. So I want to wish them a happy Father's Day as well. You know, this has been said, and I just wanted to add to it. Yes, I do see that what they did was they took everything that they wanted from us and then turned around and replaced it with themselves, as if that's what they wanted us to believe. And that's what they've been brainwashing us for years, centuries to believe. And rewriting history and putting themselves in place so far as to go with, like you said, Hercules and all of the other ones that, you know, Wonder Woman, you know, who knew that it was really us to begin with all along. And then Calvin mentioned about let it go. No, I'm not going to let it go. Nobody should let it go. Why? Because they still keep doing it. They're still doing it. If they weren't still doing it, then maybe we would be a little bit more of letting it go. But it's not going to happen because they are still brainwashing us. They are even, now we're just a target on our back because the more we get educated, the more they want to silence us. So then they kill us. They kill us in the streets like we're dogs. And they're trying to take they're trying to take it back. And we're like, no, the door is open and it's not going to be open again. We're not going back. We already seen what's happened in the past. And what other choice do we have? Going back is there's nothing to go back to because they already tried to take that away from us. And then, like I said, they're still brainwashing us and they're still being violent. In regards to the word nigger, I was raised that nigger is anybody. It's not a color, it's an ignorance. That's the meaning that it means to me. Yes, we do use it as in terms of endearment or joking, and I get that, and I don't get offended if someone else uses it with someone else, just don't use it with me. But I do get that I call people that if I say that, which I don't, but if I was to use that word, it's not because of the color, it's because of their intelligence level to me. One other thing is educating other people, and you know, Calvin was talking about where do we start with reach one, teach one. We got to go back further than where we are right now. I remember being 5 and 6 years old at my grandmother's house and saying, I wish I was white, and got popped in the mouth for it. Didn't understand why. Yeah, you know it, Dennis, you know. But yeah, I get why she did that, because that's not just like that 6-year-old boy. He has no clue, totally clueless, and being brainwashed still to this day. So that's another reason why we're not going to let it go, because they're still trying to put that ignorant program to begin with. Tuna said something about people, she was talking about just don't come on here and socialize and think of this as a time for education and move on. Some people are, they're learning it and then they still don't believe it. They have to be reprogrammed. The other thing is some people are scared, they're fearful, they don't know what's going to happen to them. I mean, yes, you want to pray, but you want to do every little bit, how small it is, it still counts. It's still a positive direction as opposed to not. And some of us are doing things that are not right and that are ignorant, but because they don't know any better, well, then someone's got to teach them. Who's to say that their fathers were never around, so they didn't get that education? Like they say, you don't know what somebody's been through until you've been in their shoes, and we don't know where they're coming from, so we shouldn't always just assume and judge. And like I said, just starting with reach one, teach one. It doesn't matter if it's our child or not. If they don't know, then it's up to us to educate them however we possibly can. What I'm doing is I'm educating people financially to be financially independent and have the financial flexibility of being on their own so that they're not dependent on somebody else. I will never want to be dependent on anybody else. And that's not necessarily a person, but surely not the freaking government, because that's exactly what they want us to fall into, is to be falling right back into this. It's like a vicious little circle. You know, they started with where they want us to be and they keep on, we come out, and then they try to pull us back in. If you think about us watching TV, I mean, now I notice that when I'm watching TV, how many times that they got commercials, you just now seeing commercials of mixed race or just black people, period. They showed a Tyson commercial, a chicken commercial. There's probably 2 black people on there out of all the other white people. So yeah, when you notice it, you see it, then you got to share it and spread it. Back to you all.
All right, thank you very much, LaShawn. We're going to go to Kelvin next. Give me a second. But you hit on a lot of points. You know, basically, we have to do it. Each one teach one. we can't stay still. And it does make a difference. As you said, when you were a kid, you didn't know. What I'm saying is it's implemented. If these people keep doing that, it's going to be a vicious cycle again. We have to change. It also starts in the mindset. It's the mindset. But if we keep taking in what they take in, that's what we've been taking in the whole time. The problem is all the information that they give us, all the television, all the media, but guess what we're not getting? We're not getting what we have. Like I said, nobody heard of this Out of the Darkness. How many of you heard of it? Nobody. So guess what? It's been out for years, but we haven't heard our own people talk. It's not nothing wrong with what they do. I don't mind what they do. They do what they do, but it's up for us to take responsibility for us. And as they say, they want to write us out of history. I say, like you said, you want to take a step. We've been following the Holy Bible for years, King James Version. We don't even understand what that means. What you need to do is I'm going to keep it out. Go study the meta-netter. You want to read something? Go read the meta-netter and find out about that. Okay? So when you find out about that, then we can have a discussion. Like Kelvin said, give them a book. Let I always say, like Malcolm said, let the white folks teach the white folks. We teach them what they want to do and go home and teach their folks about us, because we can't relate to them like they'll get offended sometimes if I talk to them or we come from a different place. I understand I've been around the only black guy in the room. I'm looked at as the black messiah and shit, so I get to say for all black people. But I tell them, I say, no, it's not by that. Go ahead and read this book. Go ahead and open your mind and then teach your people about us and how great we are. A lot of them don't want to hear that and they won't do it. Some will, some won't, so what next? So we just have to keep on going on and teaching our people as spiritual people. As I said, you got Nigerians who went to Kemet. Kemet was before that, it was something else. You see what Egypt was called. It's so many times back, which if you don't get to the root, like Marcus Garvey said, if you don't have any roots, you can't grow anything. So what we need to do is understand this, and we each one teach one right now. But unfortunately, the children that we have growing up now, they want instant gratification. They don't want to do nothing. I mean, it's something out there to do, but if we think as a whole, as a mass, and I go around the country and speak to a lot of people, and unfortunately, we got to get out of this little hole we think it is and understand what's going on. And we have to do it. If we don't do it, it's not going to get done. Like Shuna said, we have to take action. We have to get it done. Each one teach one. Somebody go out there and tell somebody, not only tell somebody, show somebody, let them see what you do, and they'll follow you once they see what, like Kelvin said, we're in surge, men who surge. Once we get all these big cars, Lamborghinis and everything, we can go into the hood, and that's what they like. So now they're open their minds to what they see versus what now they'll be more open to listen to what we have to say because they think we've made it to where they want to be. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead to Kelvin. After Kelvin, Kai, your hand is up next. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, if I let anybody under the impression that I said let it go, I never said that, because anybody who knows me, I don't let crap go. Okay. I'm talking about a guy who was almost beat by the police on a daily basis. So no, I don't believe in, I don't let go. I'm learning. I got to learn how to let go, if anything. Okay.
I didn't
one more thing.
I didn't take it that way, Calvin. I was just using yours as an example.
Oh, okay. And one thing, Chuna, I wanted to say that I had thought about it. I don't let white people get away with nothing. You start talking smack to me, I'm going to tell you something. And I'm going to tell you this. What kind of people would bring people to a hanging when they burn a lady to death and the baby falls out and they stomp the baby?
Oh my God.
What kind of what kind of people? That's animalistic.
Demonic.
That's them. And I will tell you about your people in a second. You want to call me an animal? Oh, I'm going to tell you what an animal is. Okay? So I don't take that mess from people. And I'm happy to let them know about their past. Okay? And that, and then the kid, that 6-year-old, I really feel bad about that, because I went to school and I was the only black person in the school. And I'm telling you, it was the greatest experience of my life. I'm telling you. I mean, I was a god. It was like, then I got around black people and said, oh, I got work to do. Okay. I sat there and scoring 40 points a game in basketball and getting around black people, and I can't even play. When I had to go to the hood. So, but that's, another story. But what I want to say is this, guys, that and I'm gonna say something to the ladies, and I want, you know, don't call these dudes kings when they ain't deserve to be a goddamn king. Okay, part one, because them little lazy niggas gonna think they're gonna be a king and sit on their butt and do nothing. Okay,
We teach people how to treat us.
okay. So the other thing is, tell these guys that yes, be a business owner. Go get you a job. Go get you a job. I can't have no man with no job. Uplift these sorry Negroes. Okay. Sorry, I hate to get like that, but I'm telling you, if you want to fix the problem, and they know it, we gotta fix the black man because we are the one that's under attack. You know, and sometimes we can't be sugarcoating these sorry sons of guns, and I don't mean that way, but there's a lot of them like that. Now, granted, I understand. You know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to survive. You know, I know ESMs. You guys know what ESMs are? Executive Street Millionaires. What does that say? Okay, when I say I'm an ESM, you know, I make my money on the street and I'm a millionaire from the street. Okay, and guess what? And guess what? These ESMs, their kids are in private schools. They got stock in. I was golfing with some of them, and they were watching their phones, and they were saying, "I said, what y'all checking out?" They said, "Man, UPS is about to go public. I'm trying to see what my stock is coming at." You know, I sit there and talk to some. They day trading. Okay, so they may, and white people did the same thing. That's what that liquor and alcohol and all. They made their money crookedly also. You know, when we do it with thugs, when they do it, they're geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is though, you know, now that they changing the game on people, because you remember black people used to make money off the numbers. Guess what? Now they got the lottery.
Yep.
Black people made their money off drugs, and now guess what? They legalizing drugs now. They squeezing you out. You know. So what I'm getting at, you know, we have to get back into this is why I did bad in algebra. I said, why would I learn algebra? Because I'm never going to use it in real life. And every black person in the whole class said that. And the teacher would never tell us why we should learn algebra. And if he would told us the value of algebra, maybe some black peoples would have excelled at it. So and that is, and I keep going back at that because I don't know about you other than you, Dennis. I don't know too many brothers that did well in higher mathematics. But that's the key. We have to start getting back to really taking education serious. We have to, and you can get it. I don't care what the teachers say, whatever. You can get it if you're willing to fight for it. And it's a shame that we have to fight for it. But guess what? Everything worthwhile. Guess what you're gonna have to do? You're gonna have to fight for it. They just ain't gonna make me become a millionaire. I gotta fight for it. I just can't make this 156 acres turn into a multi-million-dollar project. I gotta fight for it. You know, we can't all of a sudden wake up and surge and everybody's signing up. We gotta fight for it. So, and it's the same thing. And 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 guess what? White people do too. They take that education serious. They pay a lot of money. They'll pay for it. They're fighting for it. They'll fight for that stupid homeowners association. They fight for what they want. And we have to continue. And sometimes I know we got to fight harder. It ain't fair, but we got to fight harder. And we got to just do it. And the thing is, when we do something, that's why they didn't want Barack to succeed. Because if he would have succeeded, we ain't gonna never get another white president. I think I said that the last time I was on the line, because Atlanta fooled around and got a black mayor, and they can't get a white one ever since. And they've been doing it. Okay. So I was, as soon as Barack got in, I said, oh, shoot, we're in trouble. We ain't going to never have another white president. And they went so far, they took the first thing that came along. and they worship him. They call him their God. They do.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that he cannot stand you. He hates you. He despises you. Step foot on Maryland, whatever his name thing is, he'll have you arrested with your hat on. So I'm good.
All right. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you. Yeah, he made some good points. You know, everything you're saying, hey, we need to, the brothers, you know, we need to not having these brothers. I mean, I'm a brother that goes around, I see people still living at home, ain't never had a job, 40, 50 years old. What the, you know, I don't get that. I just like want to beat that heck out of them. But I
And the
can't.
lady's about, hello, King. Your ass.
You ain't done nothing your whole life. You're wasting sperm cells. I don't know. But anyway, we have to get them up and doing what they need to do. But I got Kai's next, and CC, then LaShawn. Okay, go ahead, Kai. Kai, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know, I just wanted to go back. And, you know, one of the things that I do love about these Sundays is that we all come from different life experiences, and we all have some build off of each other. You know, so it is good to hear different perspectives on things. But I do think that self-development is very important. Everyone is in a different place in life. So it's important to, yes, it is important to study the Meta Netter, but I also think that there is value in the Bible and the Quran and other teachings as well. We're on different journeys, so study what will bring you to your highest self. We're spiritual people, and we can call things into existence, but we have strayed from that because I've met some Africans from the continent where they talk about their spirituality. And when we watched, what was the name of that documentary on Haiti? What was the name of that, Dennis? Right, so they talked about, you know, how they use their spirituality.
Breaking up.
You know,
You're breaking
but
up.
the thing about it is that those things are scary. So I may think, that I do think that a major component, because we talked about the 6-year-olds and other people who have issues with their Blackness, you know, because our kids are being miseducated, especially when they're in certain environments. That what's really important, and I heard someone say this recently, that, you know, what Jewish person in their right mind would send their children to a Nazi-owned school for education on how to be a successful Jewish person? So I do think that it's really important at some point for us to start thinking about how to educate our children more, whether that's, you know, having our own private schools and institutions, or, you know, building within our own families and collective communities around us. So that's, I think, key to teach these children, so that they don't have these issues where they're thinking white people are better, because that's what the world is showing them. So if we're letting our kids watch TV and watch all of these mainstream things, that's what they're gonna get out of that. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Kai. You are totally correct. I think that we need to have our own schools, because as long as we go to these schools, we're getting white education. I don't care how you put it. Even when you graduate, you go through, get your master's degree, you become a black white man sometime, you know, even no matter what you do. But if we can, what we need to do is have our own education system. As I always said, about English needs to be about the black way of English, our way, our culture. Math needs to be our culture. Science needs to be our culture, not see Jane run, Dick shot Harry, all this other, that's crazy. We look up to that when we're in school. We see the white pictures in our books. We don't see what we see, our own selves. If you don't see yourself, you have a tendency to look at that, which is, you think it's better than you, but we fortunately do not think that way as us conscious people. But a lot of people don't have the same mindset, and they are being brainwashed. They are influenced in a different way. And we've been through some things, but why do we have to get to be 50 years old? Why can't the 20-year-old, the 8-year-old, the 6-year-old? That's what we need. We need the youth. Me coming up in the military, who was strong, they recruited the youth and got in there to do the battle. We need our youth to do the battle. We can't wait till they're 60 and 50 years old. You know, that's the wisdom. We should come up with that, but they have to do the battle first. And if they're going in thinking they're white and 6-year-old, it takes how much longer to get them out of that position. And that's what we need to do to rectify that situation. Education at home, if you can't do it at the school, until we can build our schools, it's up to the parents, the families to go ahead and do that. So Cece, go ahead, you're next. And then we got LaShawn.
Thank you so much, Dennis, and I appreciate all the comments of my brothers and sisters. I am going to go back to that king and queen thing because I believe it's how we look at ourselves. If we look at mentally speaking, a lot of us, and you know, maybe I'm just talking about this part of the world, but Dr. Joy DeGruy wrote a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And that post-traumatic slave syndrome, a lot of us are suffering from, which is the not knowing how to balance the European culture with our own culture. If we even accept our culture, do we know what even our culture is? And would we even accept a Black / African American or African / culture? Do we even accept that? So here in post-colonial in this post-colonial patriarchal society, a lot of us, unfortunately, have as our background abuse, as well as a lot of psychological abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. That's a lot of abuse. And I know when I found out that I was more than somebody to abuse, to abuse or be abused, I mean, that gave me a reason to live. When you're going through, Europeans have taken our children out of our homes and putting them in the foster care system. And that foster care system is not our friend because it does not teach our children that our culture. It does not teach our children that our parents have, that we as Black people have any worth. And that's how they get our children's minds psychologically, and how our children grow up, and then we send them off to these rich, wealthy schools where they teach them prevarications like, instead of saying Blacks were brought here as prisoners of war and made into chattel slaves, they say we're unpaid laborers. And so, like Dennis said, it's not only the education, which America charges a whole lot of money for a lot of lies, but it's the quality of the education. And when you do look at the Bible, it says you got to know both sides. And when I look at the netter, it shows me that we are the creators and the originators of both sides. And so it's amazing being used. It's amazing being used by the spiritual realm, but still growing in the physical realm and not feeling guilty about that, because climbing up to church a lot, I mean, if you identify with your carnality in any way, I mean, you was sinful, you was all this, that, and the other. So names and labels, they mean so much. And you're right, as kings and queens, especially as queens, do we respect ourselves? You know, are we going over guys' houses? Are they going over ours? I know they can't call my house after 8 o'clock, and I definitely don't talk to them after 8. You know, and a lot of guys are mad at that right away. You know, or no, no, I'm not a toy. Make love to my mind first, bro. You know, how do we dimensionally speaking, how do we communicate or get along? So it is about self-esteem. I know I had no self-esteem, and the only esteem I had was in my production of my children and my marriage. And after that was gone, I had nothing left, I thought. And so I praise God that God did tell me, show me that I am royalty, and because of that, I have to bring my own self up to the standards of mine. So when I see the standards my ancestors set, oh my goodness, I have so much to do. So that So I'm not jealous against anybody else, my brothers and my sisters. I don't care who you are, what you look like, what your status is. I'm my own judge. I mean, you judge as far as what setting goals, and then God's blessed me with some wonderful, wonderful mentors who's teaching me and helping me. And so, yes, titles mean a lot, and you're right. We shouldn't, if we're going to take those titles on, we should make sure that we stand up to those titles educationally and financially in all those ways. So, thank you, Dennis.
All right. Okay. Thank you, CC. I think LaShawn is next. You want to go after that, Kelvin? Okay, Kelvin, LaShawn, then Kelvin.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I don't know why sometimes you don't see it until it's been said or shared with you, but I did say earlier that we do teach people how to treat us. And the only way, some of the reasons why we are where we are is because if we knew more, then we would do more, or we would show people this is the way we should be treated. So I totally believe in that, and that's within our own race as well as outside of our race. The other thing I just wanted to say is that we've been saying for throughout the whole entire time that we need to be educated. Looking at the more that I watch this, the more I'm learning, but the fact that they tried to take every single thing from us and replace it with themselves, the only thing that they cannot take away from us is our education. They can't take anything out of our minds that are in there, whether we want to, because they don't know that we even know it sometimes, or they think we don't know it because of the way we carry ourselves. So I know that we're talking about educating, but that is the most primary, most important thing is education, because that's one thing they can't take away from us no matter what they try to do. Because look, they tried to hide all of this and we still found it. We still found it. And I will say it again, we are the best of the best, and that we actually survived to this point. Oh my God, we actually survived the stuff that they've done to us. It's just unimaginable, but we survived it, and we should sit right there and feel good about it and move on and share it with others. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much, and that's what we're doing here. We thank you for that, and we just pass it on like you're saying. So go ahead, Kelvin. I'm gonna go to you, and then I'm gonna try to get some people who haven't spoke yet. Go ahead, Kelvin.
I guess they say what doesn't kill you make you stronger. I listen to people, and I gotta figure out. Y'all gotta help me, okay? I need to know what people want, man. Because sometimes I listen to people talk. I ain't talking about y'all. Don't give me too. Okay, it sounds like they want to get a spear and go back to Africa. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. Because I keep hearing about the past, the past, the past, the past, and we know they took that. You see, we gotta start looking at 10 years. What we gonna be 10 years from now? Still talking about the past? And and this just drives me up a wall. I mean, what do we want as Black people? I mean, what I know because we all want to take care of our families. We all want a good life, but there's just certain things that we just can't go back to. But it just listen to some of these people who are so Afrocentric. I ain't talking about nobody on the phone right here, but it just again, I mean on the Zoom, it just sounds like y'all ready to go back and and just take a go back and be back with however we lived before. No, this is a whole new. This is a world. The world. We're the world now. I can be in Australia in 10 seconds. I can do business all over the world just like that. So I'm saying, what do we want then?
Maybe they're just embracing their history, and that's the way they're showing it by the way they wear their clothes and their hair.
I didn't say that. That's not what I'm getting at. Okay. You got that. Right. What do you want now?
Going forward.
Yes, moving forward. I want my kids to have
end of racism, which is economic injustice. That's what we want. The end of racism, which is economic
which is true. It is true. It is true. It is true, but that ain't gonna stop nobody that don't want to be stopped.
If they never give it back to me, I'm okay with it. I'll just get mine.
And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you what I can't stand. I can't stand somebody who won't call me a nigga in my face.
That's true too.
Call me a nigga so I know how to deal with you, and I shake your hand. I appreciate that, brother. Yeah. Now I know not to shop at your store, but don't let me shop at your store. And I got these niggas, and I'm making all this money from these niggas.
That's the brainwashing. That's the brainwashing.
See, I love old-fashioned racism. That's what we need to go back to. God dang it, if you hate me, let me know so I can deal with you. It's the
Nope,
people
that's the
that.
brainwashing method. That's the
What's that?
brainwashing method.
What's the brainwashing?
To smile in your face and do crap behind your back.
Correct. And they always done that. But I respect
Right.
those cats in the South. You a nigga to them, you always be a nigga. Man, God bless you, sir. I
Yeah,
appreciate you.
watch the ones that you don't know.
You don't
The
mess
ones
with
that
me.
you don't know.
Huh?
The
Yeah.
ones that don't tell you to your face, those are the ones you need to be watching most
Of those
closely.
liberals.
Right. Right. I mean, you know, let me know. I won't get a house next door to you. Fine. You know, but unless I can make a lot more money off it, then I will, just to piss you off. But
Yep.
but
That's true. You go.
but again, all I just want to know is, okay, we're talking. Seriously, let's just because this is not the same world. That's why I can't understand why people are prejudiced today, because this is a worldwide economy now. All the countries that are down are coming up. So what do we want? I mean, we're over here talking, but seriously, what do we want? Black people?
We need money and so we can have the power to sit at the table.
Then go make some money. Go make some money. Okay.
Exactly. I agree,
Money's
but
not
that's
stopping
what
us. That's not stopping us. That's not what's stopping us. We you know, what's stopping us, we're not actually putting forth the efforts. We're hiding behind excuses. That's what's stopping us. I don't want to hear no excuses about this and that. Like I keep telling you, got a splinter in your eye. Take the goddamn thing out. Don't quit talking about it. But we love that splinter because it gives us an excuse to keep on talking.
Yep.
But, you know, but the Jews do it and they make money at the same time. Yeah, I ain't letting you forget about that Holocaust.
That's true.
And pay me my money.
Daily, honey, daily.
You know, and so but we do it, but we do it without the money. We're backwards. You know, we keep talking about we're super beings. We are black people. Let's go do it. Let's go do it. You know, and I know it's a struggle. I know it's hard because black people ain't thinking that way. But guess what? We still gotta get in there and fight. You got
That's
Tuna,
right.
you gotta unmute yourself, Tuna.
Okay. We have to be able to do it without our lives being at risk. We have to be able to send our kids to school without their lives being at risk. We have to be able to, this is what we want. We want our kids to have an education that's going to teach them about them and what they're capable of doing, so that when they're an adult, they can be productive adults and live in a free, safe society. We want to be in a free and safe society.
And you're not.
We need
Tuna.
When
And you're not.
things happen, you still gotta. What you gonna do?
Are they kicking down your door right now?
We don't know. We don't know what risk we're taking. Even having this conversation, we don't know what's risk.
Do you care? I don't. I
That's
don't
what
care what risk
some of
we're
us. But
taking.
some people are fearful of that. That's what I'm saying. Some are scared.
Why?
That's why a lot of people don't talk, because they're afraid they could walk out their door and get killed. Like the young lady, she just had a little small broadcast, I think, on Facebook, where she was speaking her mind about what was going on with the prejudice and racism, and they killed her.
Okay.
And then tried to cover it up, but she was doing a small thing.
And she
but,
died for her cause.
Exactly.
So what? But if you're afraid, don't get into the game.
I'm not afraid.
Okay then. So let's not talk about fear then. So let's leave that conversation out.
And
that conversation was mentioned because that's why some people don't act on what they hear and see.
Right.
That's
we
all.
understand that, but I'm talking about us on this call.
But we ain't that way.
I can't wait. I can't
I'm not
deal with.
afraid.
I know you're not, Tuna. I know you're not.
No.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm afraid to pick up arms because I ain't dying for nothing. Because I gotta live. Because I gotta make some stuff happen. And if they take me off the battlefield, then we done lost something. So
and a lot of people stay in the background for that reason. But with what's going on today, right now, if you look around, it's getting worse and worse and worse.
It's getting better and better because white people are marching with us. Saying Black Lives Matter. How you
Black
looking at
Lives
it?
Matter. Okay,
How you,
Black
Tuna,
Lives
how you
Matter
looking at it?
is not Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry if for all you people who believe in Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter do not support Black people. They are not out there trying to make change for the better. Black people is a group of gay women out there for this is my perspective, okay?
I'm with you
I'm
on
not
that,
gonna
Tuna.
apologize. I don't
I'm with
apologize
you,
for
Tuna.
nothing I say
I'm
or I
with you,
feel,
Tuna.
but
Preach it.
it's some gay sisters out
Preach
there
it.
getting attention, okay? They
We're
got
backed by white folks.
Yeah, but guess what though?
Huh?
Guess what though?
Backed by white people.
But they out there talking,
Exactly.
and the black man ain't out there talking. So the woman up there talking for him.
She ain't talking for me.
She not talking.
I know that.
She not
I didn't say
talking
that.
for nobody.
That's not what I'm saying.
They're not
I ain't saying.
talking
Hold,
for
you're not hearing
nobody.
me. You're not hearing me. I'm hearing where the black dudes out front doing what they're doing. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Now, again, all those people out there marching, God bless them, do what y'all gonna do. You know. But the real issue is this: when it all comes down to it, and I told everybody sit out there marching, and all of a sudden, while they in line and they got a big rally plan, let's say they're hiring at $35 an hour. I guess everybody gonna step out of them lines and go get in line and apply for them $35 an hour jobs. What people want is money.
And you
they
correct
want
me
money
now. Right now, the only reason they out there because they ain't got nothing else to do.
They ain't got no money.
They ain't got no sports to watch on TV. They ain't got no basketball. They ain't got no entertainment. They ain't got no job to go to. So guess what they gonna do? Now we can all march. Like
and the white people are watching too.
Monday they back at their job. You're right.
And the white people are marching too because they ain't got nothing to do.
Right. Exactly.
It's not that they don't have nothing to do. They don't know what to do. Most of them are young people out there that haven't been taught. Their mindset is on social media and what they think is going on. They don't know the big picture. Most of them people out there don't know the big picture. And they're out there just doing what they believe is the right thing to do and what they know to do. They don't know.
All right, let me give somebody a chance. I see Bra Era, B-R-A-E-R-A. Are you there? You can unmute yourself. I don't want to say it's a bra, but Bra Era, you there? Okay. We're gonna go over to Lou. Lou, you there? You can unmute yourself. Give you a minute. Lou, are you there?
Here, I was on the other side of the room.
Okay.
Connected to my TV, my laptop.
All
right. Okay, can you hear me?
Oh. Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I'm learning a lot. That's all I can say. And it's a lot. And and actually history was not really, when I was growing up, it was not really I wasn't really good at history, I'm gonna be honest. And I was good more of math and accounting and that sort of thing. I'm more of an analytical, well, I'm a nurse, so I know how to, I'm very systematic, and I believe in, my heart is to be that entrepreneur, millionaire, and also I have a heart to help people. Now God has led me to help people financially. And so, but yeah, I am such an advocate, of course, of my Black history and want to know more. And unfortunately, I have nieces and nephews that I need to be more educated so I can be the example for them. Because of course, if I didn't have it and my mother didn't really teach me, then of course my nephews and niece, they're lacking. So I'm just on the bag. I'm on it with you guys, So that's pretty much I can say. It's a lot.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. At least you're learning something. As you said, you're a healer. You're a person with a great heart. That's what we are. We're spiritual. You have joy within your side. You have you're a good person. So that's what you do. I mean, you're great. You're healing people. You're saving lives. Now, financially, you can do whatever you do in your life. I'm just glad you can join us and take this and put in something now you can pass it on to, like you said, your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, nephews.
Well, I don't have any kids, but
okay. Well, the youth,
yeah.
you still
Right.
can pass it on. Each one teach one, and that's
Right.
what it's here for. We want you to be able to grab something, put it in your mind, and be able to let someone else see it as well. So I want to see who was that. Hosiah, Josiah. Are you there? Give you a little time to unmute yourself. Got a little kid with a dog up there. Josiah. Okay, it might take a little time. But anyway, I got a phone call out there from an 818 phone number. 818 number.
Yes, it's Elizabeth. Elizabeth.
Okay, hey, Elizabeth.
Hi there. I just wanted to just make a quick comment in reference to some of the things that have been said in reference to what we want, and one happens to be in terms of equal pay. We all have seen the statistics shown recently on TV and everywhere, the difference in our pay for the same job, same background and education. Also, when we get ready to get loans, the rates can be different. You've got to have a higher score than some other people. So it's just a few things like this in terms of equal opportunity. Is what I said. My background is finance and accounting, and of course, I discovered many years ago when I started that I was working out here in California. I've moved all over the country, but anyway, one thing that I discovered was that I was checking payroll, and I discovered that the different rates of pay. And for my staff, I just spoke up for my staff. I was reporting to the controller, and I said to the controller, "You see the difference in what I'm making and let's say what Joe making? We have the same titles and doing basically the same kind of work." And the controller said to me just immediately, "Your next check will be equal to his check," just like that. Now, what if I were not in the position or in that particular office and looking in that particular position that I could see that kind of thing? So just think of the number of people who do not realize, don't know what their comparison is to the person they're working next to every day, maybe doing the same job, have no idea, and happy-go-lucky continuously so. And that's what we're seeing in the statistics. We don't even know that we're being taken. So I'm just saying things like that in terms of fairness. I'm not asking for a handout, anything like that, and how I make money, but just fairness. That is one key thing in terms of just true fairness. That's one key thing that I'm asking for. When I buy a home or when I'm working on a job, those kinds of things, just treat me fairly. So that's all I have to say from that standpoint. Thank you very much. Back to you.
And you are totally correct about what you're saying there. I've experienced that myself by buying a home, and then they saw my name was Dennis Mott. They said if I was a Caucasian, I'd get a lower rate. That's just what they do. It's redlining. We're not in a fair world. I just cut that. That's why my dad told me you got to be 10 times better than the next guy.
Yep.
I mean, it's not fair that you got to do that, because like Kelvin said, he went to that one school, he was the god. They just look at you different, but we still have to be better than, we are better than on every level. We just have to understand it in our minds, but they send us to school and miseducate us, and then we think we are less than. If you look at people, I talk to my sisters and brothers all the time, and they feel they don't have the self-esteem. I do. I don't care what you do to me, but a lot of us don't, they're not me. So I have to relate to them. They have different issues. They have different problems. But like Kelvin says, no excuses. I say excuses be monuments to nothing, but then I'm hard. I'm a little different. I have no feelings. I understand that, but that's the way it is sometimes. I'm gonna get to you, Kelvin.
Hold on, I just want to say on your point, just that we have to do that. That's all I'm getting at. Sometimes we don't always fill up, but we always have to portray that image. That's all I wanted to say.
That is so true. I see Nadra down there. If you want to unmute yourself, Sister Nadra, are you there? No, she can unmute herself. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Going. All right, Big Ron, you there? You want to unmute yourself, Big Ron? Oh, Nadra, you got it. Go ahead, Nadra. I see you.
Okay, I apologize, family. I'm driving for any noise. I missed the whole presentation, but given the conversation that I'm hearing, all I can say is the task is grand enough. There are enough areas for us to all be able to contribute. So whatever it is that you do, do it, get in where you fit in, and keep it moving.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nadra. All right, Big Ron, I see you chiming in. Go ahead, Big Ron. It's your floor.
Yeah, just listening to the comments of everybody, what everybody is saying, that it first starts from home. And I think, what we have to do is educate ourselves, educate our kids and grandkids,
Yep.
and just, be an example,
Yep.
when you're out on the forefront and stuff, and just continue to support one another, and knowing that nobody's perfect, but, we all trying to reach that same goal, of Black awareness. And a lot of times we've been shortchanged. I can remember my senior year in high school was the first time you could take Black history class, and it was an elective.
Mm.
And a lot of people wasn't even taking it because, it was an elective. And we thought it should have been required like regular U.S. history, but it wasn't. But I don't know what they're doing with it now, but, we just got to, just continue to educate, continue to support, and just continue to be in the forefront of everything that's going on. I've been to a couple of protests here out in San Bernardino area in the Highland, and just to be there, just to support, to show that I'm with, police reform. If a police commits a crime, he needs to go to jail just like if that would have been me that committed a crime. Nobody's is an exception to the rule. So we just got to, like I said, it's been some positive things going on with the protests and stuff, but we just got to vote. We've had ancestors who lost their lives because we couldn't vote and trying to fight for us to vote. We got to vote and make sure that these people that we voted for is going to be accountable of things that we want them to do, and don't just just vote for anybody. Vote for somebody that you think that's going to support you. So just go out there and be that example. And like I said, the discussions were really good. I wasn't taking any notes, so I can't remember what some people were saying, but it was a lot of good positive feedback that we were sharing with one another.
All right. Thank you, Big Ron. B Mott over there, if you want to unmute yourself, you got anything to say? You can unmute yourself. All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, I want to say, hey, I appreciate everybody on the call. I mean, on the webinar. We get a lot out right here. We went longer than I thought we was gonna go, but we. I'm like, I'm gonna do an hour here, hour there. No, hey, but I love the conversation. It's nothing like us getting this out, so it's no limit to that. So I really appreciate you guys coming out. And one thing I also, before I go, the history of America. We had been here way before they said the Olmecs, and we had been here with Ramsey III. So pyramids were built here. We don't even know anything about that history in Memphis, the Mississippi, the great. We don't know nothing about it, but it's there, it's written. And if you want to find out more about that, we can. I just appreciate watching these videos and all the history. The videos just come and bring us the visual that we have, because we are visual people. It can bring us up to a higher elevate our lives, elevate everything else, our income. And as we come together and we can collaborate and work together, that's what we need to do. And it all comes down to group economics, making money, like Kelvin said. We, no matter what, even with the voting, like Ron said, we can vote, but if we ain't got no dollars behind that vote, they ain't listening to us anyway. You got to have some money, to be able to put the person you want in there or elect what you want. Because as I was told by my Caucasoid friends, they say, hey, listen, y'all go vote with all you want, but you ain't putting no money behind them. If Judge got $200,000 he getting from the Italians, and you come in there, your Black people ain't gave him nothing, who you gonna do? It's just like us with a job. Kelvin, you got a job, somebody gonna pay you this. You ain't gonna go work for a dude that ain't gonna pay you nothing. You gonna say, hey, this dude gonna pay me 200 grand, and this dude ain't gonna pay me nothing. So it comes down to that, unfortunately. But
Can I say something on that, Dennis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would go to my dad's house, and he was throwing parties, and them congressmen and senators, local guys, they all were at his house, and especially in LA, if you wanted to get elected, you had to go through my dad. You wanted to get backed or something. There was a time, he'd get off the plane in Sacramento, and Governor Brown had had a limo waiting for him. So what I'm trying to tell y'all is, when you got money, it can make a difference, and that's just one dude. Imagine if he had an army of brothers behind him. What could have been? What could he have accomplished? So that's why I say we can make change. So that's why when people throw this stuff at me, well, I saw a different world from one generation. And granted, my dad did try to tell me about all these lost tribes of Egypt and all this other stuff. I wasn't listening as a kid, but he was trying to tell me that stuff. Now I'm at to call him, hey, Dad, now what was that stuff you was telling me about?
But it makes a difference. I mean,
yes.
I know it gives you a sense of inner pride internally. Now that comes out, and like I said, you just said it yourself. We need money. What if you had 500,000 dudes like him? We change the whole United States because we have the money to do so. Or if we have 50,000, 5,000, like you said, we had 5,000 that could come out that were millionaires. We change a whole bunch of because we got the disposable income to make a difference. And that's all I'm saying. I mean, if we ain't got the money, we ain't gonna have no honey. Ain't no romance without no finance. Ain't no politics without no backing. They go one hand with the other, just like a scale, you know? If you got too much over here, this go down. You got too much over there, that go. Too much money over here for the other white folk, we down here at the bottom. We come up, they go down. It's got to have a balance. So,
and that's why, because my dad used to say, so I'm gonna send you. I want to give you $5,000 because I want you to pay to this, and he put 5,000 in my brother's account, and another 5,000 so we could help get some, because you can only give so much and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. There wasn't enough of, you know what I mean? If we had more, a lot we could have did.
That's, you had 100 million like him. How powerful would that been? You know?
Right.
Correct. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. And that's why we over here at the men.
That's what we doing. We trying to do what we trying to do. Because not trying to make change in this neighborhood. We trying to make changes in neighborhoods across the country. And Barack Obama says you start with your local. And you want to really get some stuff done. Start with the local and then branch out.
Okay. Well, folks, I think we said a lot. Tune in again for next week. We'll be doing it at the same time, same channel. It'll be Out of the Darkness Part 2. So, see how Part 1 went. We got that's a lot of that. So I wanted to chop it up because 3 hours, we'll be like, but that's just 1 hour. So stay tuned for the second hour. Then next week, we'll do the third hour. But it's a lot of information there. And I'm so glad and so happy that you guys are appreciating it. And we're putting this out there. And I always say, bring somebody else to the line. Let's open up our mind. It's growing. I remember when it was 2, then 5, then 7, 12. Let's keep growing. Bring someone else. Let them hear the same thing you're hearing. Let's change their lives because they don't know. People always say they know. No, you don't know. I didn't know till I started watching. Hey, what? For real? But we don't know. And the Caucasoids love it when we don't know. That's why they hid it from us in books. That's why they burnt up our books. They don't want you to know. So the more you know, and the more we can do this together, we're going to change the world. We're changing it right now just from us talking and all the influence that we have and all the knowledge that you're getting. You can go out there now and tell someone else what you learned today and how you may be able to change their lives as well. So thank you guys very much.
Well, Dennis?
Yes, ma'am.
One thing I would like to ask anybody on this line that does anything to do with finances. I heard somebody say they were in accounting. I heard somebody say that God blessed them with to be able to help people with their finances in some kind of way. And somebody else said, about 3 or 4 people said something about finances. So I'm asking you guys to connect with me. My name is Shuna McDuffie. Connect with me on Messenger on Facebook.
Why don't you just leave your information in the chat section right there, and they can grab it there if they need to.
Okay, well, all righty.
Okay, I'll talk while you go ahead and do it. While doing that,
well, connect with me, and let's see how we can put our minds together to create something to help people with the finances. To take what we have, put it together where it can be greater so that we can help others. And I'll put my email.
Also too,
please connect with me.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to start letting y'all do your own commercials in a minute.
I know, huh?
I don't mind as long as we're working together. It's all good. And if you got, I think it's a button down there. Once they put the information in there, you can click a button and it will save the chat section. So you go ahead and take.
I'm driving, so okay, I'm driving. I'm not able to get it. So.
Okay, CC, we'll get that to you. I'll get that to you from Shuna. Don't worry about it. I know your information.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much. CC know how to reach me.
Oh, CC
Who's
know how
this
to reach
now?
you? Okay, there you go.
This is Sharon. Who's this? Who's this?
I'll Facebook you, CC. Go ahead, Dennis. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you, Chanel.
Okay. Also, myself and Shuna are starting up we call it oars, and it was amazing because they talked about the oars in the program when they were talking about crossing the oceans. We use the wind currents and the oars, and we started a company called Oars, and it's our Alkebulan Resources Supply Store. And you can go ahead and get on there sooner. You can put that out there.
Oh yes, put that on there too.
Stages, and we're doing that as well. If anybody out there has a product or anything, it's Buy Black. You want to always say Buy Black. There we go. We're gonna have a lot of Black-owned products. We have a connection with a person in Africa, so we're gonna be doing a lot of trade there. It's difficult to get started, but we're starting it. It doesn't make it. We're just not giving up. We just keep going. We just get better and better. So we appreciate that. If you know anybody that has any product or services, we can put out there, and we'll go ahead and do that as well. So thank you guys very much. Oars, I like to say oars are when you're paddling the boat, everybody, the brothers was in the oars, all going in one direction. They were paddling in unison. And that's what we need to be doing as a people, going in unison in one direction, getting to our goal where we want to be. So that's what we're doing. Also with the Men Who Surge, we also think we're doing that as well. Putting our dollars together. We want to use Surge as a platform. And if you get on our Wednesday calls, that's great. We have that as well, Wednesday at 5:30 Pacific, 7:30 Central, and 8:30 Eastern. If you need that information, you get it with myself or Kelvin. If you know any men, like we were talking about, get some men so we can, send them through their boot camp and we can change them to be real men. Or if you already have some men that already have a business. We don't care if you're from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high. We have no egos over here, okay? We are just trying to make our people better. What does EGO stand for? Economic growth and opportunity. That's what it's called. Economic growth and opportunity.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Any men, we're definitely open for that. And we're definitely trying to strive to do better. And we want to have an economic power for our community. Like we all say, we need the money. Lou, if you have anything to say, I know you said you do finances as well. So we all need to come together and unite, starting here, and then just blow up together.
No, I don't do finance. I do nurse. I'm nursing, but I'm trying to increase my finances.
I got something wrong with my ankle.
Hey, I just want to say, Lou, I was hear you talking, and you definitely are a role model, and being a nurse is a fantastic field, and your nieces and nephews, they're watching, so I just want to applaud you. Good job.
Good job. Amen.
Especially at a time like this, Lou. So
yes.
You're going to
put your life at risk every day.
Okay.
So
thank you.
You're out there on the line, so we want to recognize that.
Keep up the good work, Queen.
Well, and also too, I want to share, Calvin. You had mentioned. I like the fact you said to like going into neighborhoods and like when we what we have to offer. Like when we come up and go over into the neighborhoods and show them what we have, and then we'll show them that they can do it too.
Right.
They can do it too. So that's where my heart is at, and I can see that.
But we have to see that we can't have do it. You see, people, we have do things. You got to be ready.
True. Right.
You can't see. Everybody talk about salvation, and salvation is really restoration. You're made whole. We can't go in to make people whole if we're not whole ourselves.
That's true.
And so we got to make sure that we're a whole person when we get into the community, so we can say, okay, I can get you a job, I can get you this, I got whatever you need to get out of this situation. Right. Up until then, we can just talk and you can't do anything. So
Right.
we understand that we're a couple of years off from launching, hopefully sooner. But when we really launch, we come in full force. We're not gonna have to do anything. So, yeah.
All right.
Amen.
Thank you.
Calvin, you mentioned about history, and the way I look at it is you're a lot further than some of the people on here in regards to the history because you have experienced it as well as been educated. Some people have not been educated to the level that you have been. So to constantly keep going back to the past is just so that people, I would think, would understand where they're coming from, so they have a better idea where they're going to go from where they are then and moving forward. I had mentioned to Dennis before, know your past, analyze your present, and plan your future. So
My past was my dad. That was it. My dad did it, and dad said, never work for nobody, start your own business.
right, and
That was
see
the
some people,
past.
right, and that's what
Yeah,
you were told, but some people were told different. You know what I mean?
correct. That's what I said. That's why I ended. I say we have to tell people this. See that we're that generation now. That's why I said I didn't need to go back because he tried to teach me that stuff, man. I didn't want to hear it. All I wanted to know was you was driving these big Lincolns and you was doing this and you had these. How do you get that? That's what I want. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about the lost tribes of
And I was somewhat the same way. It's like, why do I need to know this? This is not my current life as it is now. But I also like what you said about whatever grabs their attention, then that's what we need to use to get it. And you were saying about, the flashy stuff. If that's what gets their attention, so be it. Because
That's what
the
they see.
alternative is the games. They're showing them you have family, you have community, but it's not the way to live their life.
You have to be able to receive it. We have to get on their level sometimes. Not that
Exactly.
we want to, but I understand everybody comes in the game a different way. So we have to go down to that level, but not really going down because now we've risen up, so we can see what they want. We had like they do with us. They throw that little trinket in front of us, and we want to go get a little fish hook, like for a fish. But that's what we have to. We have to make enough money to show them, hey, we done it. Now you can listen to what we have to say. But if I'm a bum, you don't really want to hear me. If I'm a bum, you want to hear me if I'm a millionaire. Now you're gonna listen. He did it. He can do it. I can do it. That's what Kelvin said. My dad used to tell me the same thing. I was like, dang, why he always making me do this or making me do that? But once I became a man, I was like, I understand. I didn't understand it when I was going through it.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm sorry. I know you guys want to get off, but you guys reminded me of something. One of my big contracts I had with my camera business was this big company, and they had they were tearing down apartment complexes and putting in these nice townhomes, and they were. I mean, these places were tore. I remember when they went there, they told me, "Don't get out of the car." I said, man, I'm from LA, blah, blah. Ain't nobody out here in Rialto gonna, I'm talking all that smack. I drove out there and I said, nobody can get out my car. Then they start sending us to places across the country. And I'm thinking, why don't they get local people to do this? So they sent me to this place in Houston, and they call this apartment complex Little Attica. And what I do is I put in security cameras and blah, stuff like that. So anyway, they sent me this place called Little Attica, and bro, it looked like a prison. Okay. And I was up there taking pictures where the cameras are going and stuff like that. And some dude jumped out of nowhere and said, hey man, we don't need no cameras around here, man. Don't be putting no cameras up in here, man. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to taking some pictures. But anyway, my point was this was a white organization, and they went in there and they would reinvent these little raggedy apartment complexes and turn them into something nice that people wanted to live in. So if we could do the same thing, we can tear these little raggedy places out where these people are living and make them nice places for these people to live, and then put things in place to educate these people that we ain't got to worry about the school. One of the best projects is Eastwood. And if you guys are familiar with Eastwood in Atlanta, they tore a terrible neighborhood down. They put a golf course in there. All these kids get all these education. They do all this other stuff. And that the neighborhood is thriving. White people are doing this. You know what? We need to go back and save our own people.
Yep.
We need to go do it. And we can do it our way.
And
So
like
when
you just said, Kelvin, like what you just said, I love it. But at the same time, when you see they're getting their education, but as we build these places, I want them to have our education.
Correct, and that's what I said. Will allow us to do. We can
Yeah.
educate the way we want them.
Right.
You see, that's the vision that I'm putting forth that I didn't share with you guys yet. But see, if you ain't got no money, you can't do all this kind of stuff. But we get some money, we can build our communities, and that's the whole deal about Men Who Surge. What it's all about. We want to show other men to see other men that's coming in. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, blah blah this, and I'm trying to say I'm just cleaning your place up. And by the way, because every gangster wants their kid to be educated. They'll tell you in a minute. I don't care how hardcore you think you are. I heard these hoodlums talk about, yeah, my son, that's really cool. You see what I'm saying? They want a bright future. We just need to help them. And matter of fact, man, let me show you how you can put some money in this and you can be a part of this also. You know, there's a lot of things that we could do to help these kids, but we got to get our money together first. And I'm not coming in I'm not coming in with Goldman Sachs and I'm coming, no. We gonna do this because we gonna take credit for it. So no white man gonna take a part of this.
That's right.
I think that our parents just wanted us to have better than what they had, and they didn't want us to struggle. But you can also go too far to the pendulum and make it too easy to where then you get that sense of entitlement. And then the translation of education gets lost. It's like, yes, I want you to have better, I want you to struggle, but I also want you to appreciate where this came from. It didn't just fall off the back of a term truck, or there's no money tree in the backyard. So
that's the other problem with black people.
Yep.
Okay, because here's the thing. My dad could sit there. I say, Dad, I need some shoes. He's like, what do you need shoes for? I had to. He a millionaire putting $5,000 in people's stuff, and I can't get a goddamn $20 pair of shoes without a 20-hour lecture. You know that
was my
okay. You know, and then so, but my thing is, see, other races, they start their kids off on their shoulders. Black people want to put their kids on the floor. No, I've been on the floor. Nigga, you get up and I'm gonna start you right here on my shoulder, and then you take it up from there. You know, and that's some of the things that we're kicking kids out the house when they're 18. I got kicked out when I was 18. Yeah, look at you now, and you still ain't done nothing. You know, we got a rule in my house. You cannot leave until you show you can take care of yourself. And we working on that, but no, because when you can't come back.
How long do you give them till they can't take it? They be there 50.
Well, you gotta say we're in a different time. It's a different world. I'm working on all that other stuff, but you know, yeah. Do you know how much? Do you know how much apartments cost out here in LA?
Yeah.
When you sit there and you don't make enough to get one.
Invest in real estate.
You know, they talking about these places. You know, a studio can cost you $1,200. And out here in Raggedy, whatever, with the San Bernardino Rialto. So you know how much money you got to make. Now you got to live with 5 crazy friends to stay in one place.
No, there's a way to do it, and you don't have to use your money to do it. Invest in real estate. That's what they do. Oh, that's another thing. Learn what they do and then do the same thing too.
Or insurance.
That's true. But what's so beautiful about it when we do it for each other, there's not that viciousness that's going on right now, which is what I'm dealing with in my community. The billionaires, Gates and Buffett and all them, his daughter, they're buying up the Black community and disenfranchising us and sending us way out west without a car, and these are poor people. They don't have cars. They don't have any way to make it back and forth. And if they choose not to sell, then they make the taxes go up so high that you have to sell. Or you have your bank account on where it automatically goes out. They go down and look at your payment history, and they see if they miss once, then they go and switch that payment to somebody else that works there. So they're paying your bill instead of you, and you're like, you wake up and you look at your bill like, whoa, what happened? For people who are on automatic payment. So all these underhanded ways that they're doing to get our community, it'll be so much different when brothers and sisters who love us and who has our best intention at heart, you'll come in, like you said, with the correct curriculum where it's telling the facts about everybody. You'll come in not disenfranchising, but offering benefits, and you would never move a Walmart in a community, because that closes the mom and pops. But this is what people who we elect do, that once they get in office, they're bought out. And that's what happens because we don't have money. One of our brothers and sisters said, Mr. Delzino and his wife, who are billionaires, they said, you got to have $1 million just to play, just to get in the game. You got to have $1 million.
Cost $4.99.
Okay.
$4.99, bro.
All right,
Y'all was in my class. It's $4.99.
You
It
right
didn't
there.
cost you $1 million.
$4.99. You right, man.
But
So,
can I
for my company.
thank you for your business.
hold on? But I want to say this, and I found this out. One of the ladies on our team shared this with us. They showed her how to pay off a car loan faster, and they said this: if you make one payment in advance before you make your first payment, you're ahead of the game and you already ahead on your interest. She said she paid 5 payments, literally made 5 payments, but they told her that she made 13 payments, all because she made one payment in advance. And this is what someone told. She went to go buy a car. I think it was Linda Ward went to go buy it, and she just happened to be there. And the guy told her, if you do this trick, you'll pay your car off in 3 instead of 5, or something like that. So, and because of the interest that occurs. So, so I said, okay, I'm making 2 car payments this week. Hey, make it more.
Kelvin,
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Yeah, this is the part of the education that I am doing, which is whether, just quick example, if you have a 30-year mortgage, you can't pay that off in 7 to 10 years. There's different ways to do it. The way that we're learning it and sharing it with other people is not necessarily making an additional payment towards the principal or the interest. It's about using your HELOC. There's a totally different strategy of doing that, but you can do it with a mortgage, any type of amortization debt. So if it's a loan, a car loan, a credit card, personal loan, mortgage, anything. So that's the way that you go about doing it. And it does pay it off faster.
And so okay, so you need to set up a time where you can get everybody on the Zoom call so you can teach us how to do all that.
Exactly.
See that? See, you hold on to information and you ain't telling us. See, you part of the problem, Lashuna. See, that's you ain't sharing it. You've been sitting on this. How many times that we've been on this call? You've been sitting on us and ain't told us nothing.
I've been telling you. I said teaching financial flexibility and independence.
That can mean anything. When you
all
got
right,
specific,
I'll be more detailed next time.
That's right. When you got specific, what happened? Everybody's eyes lit up.
Okay.
See, you can't see.
But let me say, this is why we created ORS, so that people who have their business, they can go on there, put their businesses up there, and contribute their knowledge and share it with others, and then people will know who's doing what and who to contact for whatever it is that they need, whatever service or product.
I gotta have an advertisement. You can put it up there. I gotta have an advertisement. Let me know what you're doing.
Exactly.
I'm still learning it myself, and the way that I go about sharing it with other people is that they end up going to a live online webinar and it's explained that way. But I will look to see if I can just get something on my own and share.
Well, let me say something about that.
I have that. I can do it.
I'm with a company that does that too. But when it comes to being an entrepreneur, we use these, I'm gonna say parent companies to grow into moving into having your own company because
that's what this is.
I'm gonna use Surge, okay? And I'm not saying anything bad about Surge, but when you get to the top of Surge, it's not one of our people, okay? And so we wanted where when you get to the top, to the head, that you still seeing somebody who looked like you.
That don't matter to me.
It's okay to use these platforms to learn and grow, but you should be using it just for that, to learn and grow, so that you can have your own.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But until you get there, do what you got to do. You know, I don't care if there's a white. Who cares if there's a white man at the top? Less. If I'm gonna make a fortune, I don't care who at the top. Let me get mine.
Once you get to the top, what she's saying, you can go out and branch out and do your own thing too.
Right. But until you get there, you got to do what you got to do. And I would rather if see, that's the thing about Black. We wait too long before we branch out. I worked for that white guy and found out, man, I was smarter than him. Why am I working for him?
Right.
And I turned and left his company and went to work for another white guy. I took all the top people. I said, hey, I got my team. Can I work under you? Worked under that guy for about 3 months, and I said, why am I working for this nut? I said, come on, man, let's just do our own thing. We went on and got started, and that was 20 years ago, and we started our own business, and didn't look back. We had our ups and downs. It wasn't all rosy, but but I went out and did it though. And I'm saying that if you have the knowledge, just like doing this hotel, I do not have $100 million to build this thing. Don't have nowhere near that. But guess what? The opportunity came, and I kept saying, no. Let's just get it. Let's resell it. Let's flip it. And they're like, no, we should try to develop it. And we kept going. And and I said, what? Why not? If I lose, guess where I'm going back to? Right where I am right now.
Exactly.
So might as well go ahead and go for it.
It's 4:05. My daughter calling me, just had the baby.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. So hey, we'll be back here next week. We all family here. So I thank you all for coming on this line. I appreciate it. So and I'm loving all the conversations. Don't get it twisted. But I do got a grandbaby. My daughter.
Yeah, I do.
Hey.
Congrats. Yeah, look at that smile. See there? Yeah.
So I'll see y'all guys next.
And by the way, Juneteenth was my 28th wedding anniversary.
And we celebrated all day. The whole nation celebrated.
They sure did. That's right. I decided to give up my freedom.
I will see if I can have something for next time, even if we don't use it. Okay.
I appreciate that, LaShawna.
All right.
But watch what you get out of it. By you doing this, watch what happens to you.
All right, LaShawn.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.